What's going on? 5:58, just about 6 o'clock. Defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons said he suffered a Tommy John ligament injury to his left elbow. The injury caused Simmons to miss the Titans' 31-12 win over Miami Dolphins on Monday night. Simmons told trainers he felt like he could play Friday but was held out of practice. His plan is to come back in Week 6 when the Titans host the Colts at Nissan Stadium. The big news yesterday, Raiders star wide receiver Davante Adams informed the team that he would prefer to be traded. Las Vegas informed other teams that they would consider trading the wide receiver for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. Large news dump yesterday, mostly around Von Miller and the Buffalo Bills, as he is suspended 4 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. It was announced yesterday. Miller is eligible for reinstatement on October 28th following the Bills' Week 8 game against the Seattle Seahawks. And former Titan Caleb Farley signing with the Panthers practice squad, one-time first-round pick who was released early in camp. Good for Caleb. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Wednesday morning on 104.5 The Zone starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh waking up with you. Ramon Foster will wake up a little bit later. He'll come in at 7 a.m. this morning. 615-737-1045 is the number. We've got Bryan Callahan giving a vote of confidence to Will Levis, saying there is no quarterback controversy. We've got a Titans radio two-step, one might say, this morning with Mike Keith at 8:20, Rhett Bryan at 9, Inky Johnson at the end of the show. Lots to get into in only 4 hours to do it. Kayla, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am good. How are you doing? It's nice and refreshing out there. I put on the fleece this morning because I felt like a little bit of that fall brisk. I don't know if you felt the same way, guys, but the coffee feels extra, like, just hitting today.
It is the first time that I've regretted not wearing sleeves.
Yeah, right?
Into the show this morning.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
No,
well, maybe
honestly.
a couple times. But.
Yeah, definitely not October 2nd. I do have the opinion, though, and I was thinking about this last night with everything going on in our world right now, that where does October rank among the best sports months? I feel like it's got to be number one.
I tend to agree with you. I think Ramon had something very different. I think maybe he did have March, it makes sense too because of March Madness.
Yeah.
But because I am a baseball lover at heart, and we get obviously baseball at its best in this month, and then on top of that, you really get into the thick of the conference schedules in college football, and you've got NFL. 4 games, 5 games in now. We're starting to see what teams are. So I agree. I think it probably is one of the best months. And you rev up for basketball and hockey.
I'm telling you, it's.
Holy
you
smokes.
literally get every single sport. There's the equinox of it, and then for me as a soccer fan, you've got important MLS games. You've got Champions League games starting, which all happened yesterday. There's whiplash that's happening. Mm-hmm. A lot of conversations in relationships of like, there's another game. Oh, wait, no, there's another game, including my relationship, where this conversation always happens this time of year.
I know. And we were speaking of baseball, I don't know if you watched the Braves last night.
Unfortunately, I did, yes.
I know.
I scored as many runs as they did.
Right? None.
That's right.
But you know what? It's hard. Going out there, you win an emotional game like that in a doubleheader to just get in to the wild card against the Mets, and then you fly all the way across country and you play a game the next day. That's wild.
Yeah, I still don't know how they did that. And I was kind of questioning the fact that they did a champagne celebration. Like,
me too.
12 hours before they were going to be laying. I mean,
yeah.
It was interesting. Like the whole champagne thing, I already think is kind of weird when you win a wild card spot versus you win the division.
Yep.
especially at a place like Atlanta where you're so expected to win the division every year. Granted, they made the playoffs when they weren't supposed to. Half their team's been hurt. The Cy Young winner, the preseason Cy Young favorite, and the defending MVP all hurt. But just going out with a whimper last night. It was not fun.
I know. But now we can move on to, like you said, you got your soccer to watch. I've got other teams I like to watch in baseball just to see, what the flow is. The Mariners barely ever make it. They made it last year. They were falling short this year, so I get it.
It was. It'll be interesting tonight. Max Fried on the mound. I've still held a little bit of hope out because the Padres are bad against lefties. But this is how my sicko brain works to give myself a little bit of optimism.
I'm with you. Give them some optimism there.
Going into something. 615-737-1045 is our number. We always use the day after reaction days to allow any of you who were unable to get a word in yesterday because our calls are so loaded on a reaction day. If you've got Titans thoughts, 615-737-1045. We're going to play the audio coming up in a few minutes of Bryan Callahan's statement yesterday backing Will Levis. And he has got no hesitation, Kayla, in saying that there is no quarterback controversy in Nashville. Were you surprised at all yesterday hearing Bryan Callahan say that?
I don't think I was surprised because I feel at this point we kind of know who Callahan is in terms of what he's trying to do here, and that is trying to develop a quarterback. And I know we're going to hear the audio, but he even specifically pointed out, we are going to find out who he is. And I think they are just reiterating the fact that whether or not it's not going to be perfect, there's probably going to be bad decision making at some points, but they need to look at the full body of work, it sounds like, throughout the season to really know if they are going to keep him and move forward with him or if they are just going to push the reset button on the quarterback position moving forward. So I'm not super surprised, Will, but it does make me question at any point if it just gets out of control, are they not willing to go to another guy like Mason Rudolph just to have wins? I don't. Yeah. I'm a little confused with what the process is this year. Do they want a winning culture, but they don't know if that can happen with Will Levis. At some point, you're going to be out of the picture.
It does feel like the Miami game has to mean something in Mason Rudolph's favor, right?
Yeah.
You did just see him go win a game and get you to 30 points, which is something you've not done in closer to 3 years than 2. Ultimately, that has to mean something. How much do you think Bryan Callahan is trying to affect the confidence level of a quarterback who literally has gone on the record saying he needs to rewire his brain? It doesn't feel like if there was any controversy, it would be very easy for Will Levis to rewire his brain at all.
Yeah, I think that definitely goes into part of it. That's part of coaching and part of teaching, which he takes a lot of pride in, like we always reiterate. He thinks of himself more than a coach. It's a teaching moments for him as being somebody who's close to the quarterback position and trying to develop it. So I think that's part of it too, is you have to deal with not only the physical things that are going on, but you have to deal with the mental side of things in a quarterback, especially when they're so young and they don't have as many mess ups or great moments as some of these other guys do in the league. And so it might take a little longer for him to get checked that way. And that's why, Will, I go back to that moment where he was told, you're not going to come back in the game. Right. Whether or not he could have or not, we don't know that. But he sat on the bench. And I think that's such an eye-awakening moment sometimes for young quarterbacks or young competitors in general is, oh my gosh, I could lose this job.
Right.
Maybe I do need to start to figure things out mentally as well.
I don't think a bye week in week 5 has ever come at a better time.
Yeah.
For an NFL team. It obviously the injury part of it for Levis, physically, he's got to be totally healthy because I think this would be a different conversation if the Titans played this weekend. Mm-hmm. Because then we're having a different discussion of, can Levis practice? And, is Mason Rudolph the better guy to get you through another week and get Will Levis totally healthy? It's already one thing that you've got Levis making mistakes when he's fully healthy. How much differently does he play if he's banged up a little bit? Well, then what happens if Mason Rudolph, let's just play, the hypothetical and say, what if the Colts game was this Sunday?
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph goes out there and starts under the guise of, hey, we need Will Levis to get healthy. Well, what if Mason Rudolph does it again?
Mm-hmm.
What if he wins the game? What if he wins by 2 or 3 touchdowns? Titans look great. Anthony Richardson throws the ball to Titans defenders because that's what he does. And all of a sudden, I think then you're having a very different discussion because at that point, there would have to be a little bit of a quarterback controversy. I think Will Levis is fortunate and maybe just a little bit lucky, which is something you have to have in this league, that he has got a full week to reset and ramp back up for the Colts in a week and a half.
That's not too far-fetched. I think luck definitely plays a part in this league. And while it wasn't lucky for him to go out of that game with the shoulder injury, maybe when it comes down to it, it will be the moment that rewires his brain. That's something he said, not me. He needs to rewire his brain. Right. And you'll look back at that and say, okay, this is the moment that I had to kind of have a come to you-know-what and figure out who I am as a quarterback. And then you've got this bye week now to also sit on it and figure out how you're going to get things straight. But I think you're right. If you would have seen Mason Rudolph maybe in back-to-back games, because I don't think Will could have maybe went this weekend. I think he needs that extra week of rest to really heal that shoulder. Then you really start to question, oh gosh, 2 straight wins. Mason looks pretty good. Like, we know how the league works, right?
100%.
Sometimes it just takes a couple wins to string together in a locker room also to rally for that guy as well. So I think Will Levis did luck out if indeed he can play after the bye week, which it looks like he'll probably be able to.
In the F&M Big Chat, you can comment, interact with the show, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And this morning, Peter writes, how do you guys think this affects the locker room at this point? Kayla, you're obviously in there every time the doors are open. How is the locker room handling this in your eyes? I know Tajay Spears yesterday didn't really buy into any of the controversy, so to speak, when he talked with us.
Yeah, and Tajay's probably one of Will Levis's biggest cheer guys because he is younger, right? He came, in with that class, and he's going to support his guy. So I get that. But if you are speaking with some of the veteran guys who have come in from other winning programs, winning organizations, I think at some point it can get a little exhausting if you just see your quarterback repeating the same thing over and over. They're always going to say the right things in that locker room, Will, because they are professionals and they know how to speak to us and not maybe catch us off guard in terms of what they're trying to say. But I think eventually, Will, if this continues to happen with just the same types of mistakes, I think you're going to start to feel the tension of frustration in there at least. They might not say it, but you can feel when a locker room starts to divide. Yeah. I don't think it's at that point now, but you never know.
And that was something that never really happened under Mike Vrabel in terms of the on-field product. And, there may have been division between the coaching staff and the players at times, but those players never turned on each other when things got bad over the past couple of seasons. That was evident when they went and beat Jacksonville in week 18, right? But we don't know how this locker room and this team is going to function under pressure yet. It's not something that we can just automatically assume and say, this is the same team. They won't turn on each other and this locker room won't split. Well, it's not really the same team. I mean, it's as turned over of a roster as there is in the NFL from last season. And, fair or unfair, there are a lot of guys on one-year deals who probably won't be here next year as they continue to churn this thing. So something to monitor, something I think that'll be interesting as the season continues and perhaps a controversy begins. But clearly, according to Bryan Callahan, there is not one now. We will play that audio when we come back. We'll also give you Ian Rappaport on NFL Network this morning, who has given an update on Will Levis's injury status and what is to come for him moving forward after the bye week as the Titans take on the Colts. And as always, your chance to react to the day after a reaction day as well, as I know many of you wanted to get in yesterday and couldn't. 615-737-1045 with RKW continuing after this. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance was established in 1926. It is the largest and most comprehensive orthopedic practice in Tennessee. We're getting in the middle of the high school football season. High school sports in the fall are in full swing. Maybe you're getting ready for hoops for the winter. Well, hey, these are the guys that I trust to take care of the bumps and bruises, the injuries, and the physical therapy as well. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance offers direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. They'll give you personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. They've also offered sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. TOA serves as a team orthopedic physicians to NFL athletes, 29 locations throughout Tennessee. Check them out online, TOA.com. They provide more sports medicine coverage to high school and college teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. That's TOA, Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, at TOA.com.
Sometimes good people go through hard times, and they need a little help getting back on their feet, or in this case, getting a roof back over their head. That's why North Point Roofing Systems is here to give you a little peace of mind, Ramon.
Yes, it is, Bert. And here's the thing, too. Just go to 1045 The Zone and submit someone, yourself or somebody else, in this prize of getting a free roof over your house. I promise you, you don't realize how much damage is on top of your roof until you have them over there. Here's the cool thing about them. They don't even get up on the roof. They send drone technology up there to see and assess what's going on top of it. They have their GAF Master Elite certification. So if there was any time to ever get anything free, it is right now. North Point Roofing Systems. All right, go to 1045 The Zone and enter to win for a free roof on top of your house.
Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW getting started. 615-737-1045 is our number. Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. Ramon will join us at 7. If you are curious, this was an excused absence. I feel like the secretary at school that you befriend to not give you punishment when you're late. We are not giving Ramon any sort of punishment. This was a excuse absence because he got, 2 hours of sleep coming back from
Pretty
Miami,
much.
and people get tired when those things happen.
Yeah, and sometimes that doesn't make for the best radio because you don't know what you're saying. But no, Ramon is a professional. He was able to do it yesterday, but needed a little extra sleep today.
It is, do you guys know, and I don't know if you guys believe this, I subscribe to this idea that when you don't get a lot of sleep, it is not the next day that you feel more tired, it's the day after that day. That's apparently, people a lot smarter than me have confirmed that is the case. So, we're giving Ramon sleep on the most important day.
Yeah, you told me that. It told us that. I don't know what the conversation was.
It's probably been in your head ever since.
And
now.
it has.
2 days later?
It really has. And I think then I did realize about that time, I felt a lot more exhausted than I did if I stayed up the night before and I wasn't really feeling it all the way.
Yeah. For sure.
And it doesn't even matter if you nap that first day. Like, say you were gone all weekend, you were off Monday, you come back Tuesday. Even if you get off work, go nap Tuesday, Wednesday is still going to be hell.
It is.
Wednesday, getting back into your flow is the toughest part.
Yeah, that's true. That's real. So Bryan Callahan yesterday gave Will Levis a big vote of confidence and says there is not a quarterback controversy in Nashville. Here are his full comments yesterday speaking with the media.
I appreciate Mason's professionalism. I appreciate how prepared he was and ready to go into the game. But Will is our starting quarterback. And I said it last night, and I'll reiterate it again, that when he's healthy, he's starting. Hopefully he's healthy for Indy, and we're ready to roll, and he's the starting quarterback because it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, as everybody knows. There does take some development. Guys make young player mistakes. You see it all across the league right now. And we're going to find out everything about Will that we can. And he's going to continue to grow and get better and play better. He needs to play better for us. And at the end of the day, I believe that he will, and that's where I'm at with that whole thing. There's no controversy, there's no second guessing. That's what's happening. So that's probably as clear as I can state it.
So I think two things are happening here, Kayla. I think first of all, Bryan Callahan understands that coaches have given votes of confidence post-game to quarterbacks before, and then reversed course pretty quickly afterwards. If you're looking for a recent example of that, it's Bryce Young and Andy Dalton.
Yep.
And the way Dave Canales had to handle that in Carolina. And sometimes you have, that nebulous fan thought out there of all right, well, but who else is a decision maker, right? Maybe coming off the field, you as a coach defended your quarterback, but who else are you talking to within the front office? Is it ownership at some places? I don't think that's the case here. That's lending their voice to this. I think clearly Bryan Callahan is not misleading us. I think we can scratch that off the list as of yesterday.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Will, because I think what we've learned about Bryan Callahan, if anything, in the last several months that he's been the head coach here, is no matter if things are great, if things are bad, Bryan Callahan seems to be his authentic self. And that is rare, I think, to see in any kind of professional sport to this level, just because as a first-year head coach, too, you want to draw in the fan base. You want to, be loved by the players and the locker room, but you also want to be true to who you are because you're there to do a job, and you want to be your most authentic self from the start. Because if not, you're painting a false picture of what you're trying to build there. So I think one thing we have learned just in general is Callahan is going to tell you it like it is. And that's why I don't think there's a ton of sugarcoating with that statement, Will. I do truly believe they are giving Will Levis every opportunity to be the guy. But that doesn't say, though, that if he continues to go down this path of kind of self-destruction in some ways, that Callahan won't pull the cord at some point.
Right.
That he didn't ever say either that, we're rolling him with him the rest of the season.
Sure. I do think there was one other thing that stood out in that, and the words and the word choice that I think coaches use in situations like this matter, because these are smart people. These are not people that are just going up with some kind of point in their heads and just trying to throw it out there at any words that they can possibly muster up in the moment. I think Bryan Callahan thought carefully about how he chose his words because the confidence of his quarterback relies upon the words that he uses in defending, or if he decided to, not defending Will Levis. He said, we need to find out everything that we can.
Yeah.
And that, to me, says that Will Levis actually might have a longer leash than I originally thought, because there's two things going on here. The Titans think they can be competitive. The Titans know they need to figure out who Will Levis is right away this season in 2024. And I think Bryan Callahan's use of the words, we need to find out everything that we can about Will, tells you that the biggest objective of this season, beyond competing and winning as many games as you can, is to learn whether or not Will Levis is the quarterback. I think he is going to have most of this season, if not all of it, to either succeed or to fail. I think things are going to have to get really, really a lot worse for him to be pulled.
And it also makes you think that they truly do see something in Will Levis, and we all have seen positives in Will Levis, things that he does well. It's just overshadowed, unfortunately, to start the season with the massive mistakes that he's made. And with the turnover margin and the, record interceptions right now for him, tied with Anthony Richardson in the NFL with 6. There's so much, I think, glaring things that have happened that are mistakes that it overshadows maybe all the things that he is growing upon. And that's what Callahan's mission is to fix those things, absolutely, but also continue to see how he's growing in other aspects of the game. And that does need to happen, though, eventually for them to figure out if this is their quarterback or not. I just don't know how much time, and I agree with you, Will. I think his leash is a lot longer than we think, because you can't figure out a quarterback after a few games. He's played 13 NFL games in his career, 3 this season for the most part. A little bit of the game last weekend. But for Bryan Callahan, his evaluation might be a lot different than somebody like Mike Vrabel in terms of what he is going to give his quarterback time to see what he needs to see. So I think we're going to be having this conversation maybe for a little bit longer than people want, but hopefully Will can take those strides with his head coach backing him again. And he's been tough on him, but he's also been an advocate of Will Levis and saying again, this is your job. So go out there and continue to try to figure it out.
615-737-1045. Your chance to react to what you just heard from Bryan Callahan yesterday, especially if you weren't able to on yesterday's show. Let's start with Curtis in Nashville, who is up first this morning. What's up, Curtis?
Hey, good morning, Kayla. Good morning, Will. The question I had, and the thing that was most interesting to me, is that if Levis really was hurt, then why did he look like he was always ready to go in the game? I mean, that was really confusing to me. And the way I kind of look at that is that at the time, the team trusted Mason to win the game versus putting Will Levis and potentially losing the game. That's kind of my take on it, and that's the only thing that's just really interesting to me, especially with the bye week. If they really wanted to have him truly rested and knowing the game plan was going to be to run the ball the entire second half, then why did Will Levis look like he was ready to go in and not really injured at all? So I'll kind of hang up and listen, but that was my point.
Yep. Thank you, Curtis. I think the explanation we got from Bryan Callahan is an interesting one, that Will was petitioning to go back in and was ready to go, and they kind of had to protect him from himself a little bit in the same way they did Jeffrey Simmons with his elbow injury, which we now know is a ligament similar to what pitchers get with Tommy John. Mm-hmm. And Will wanted to go back in and kept asking Bryan if he could go back in, and Callahan wasn't having it. Yeah,
that's the part that I think gave me at times anxiety watching Will in that game, because at some point I think he knew, like, I'm not going to play the rest of the game, but he is such a competitor. And you talk to any of his teammates, that's what they love about him. But at some point, I think you just have to accept the fact that, Rudolph is in, he's in the rest of the game. were being precautious because of the shoulder. Look, he was wincing on the bench at one point where there's a meme going around about him. And that was all because he was actually wincing at his shoulder. He was trying to like work it out, and you could tell how much pain he was in. And this is one thing about this staff. They've told us this over and over again about players. And I think Tajay Spears was one of the examples when he had that ankle injury. They said, we have to prevent him, speaking to Tajay, from, self-destructing, because he would go out there on a broken ankle if he could. So they are very cautious of these guys and making sure that they have them for the longevity of the season. And if that was a situation they felt it wasn't smart to put him back out there, I do truly believe part of that went into it. And also, Mason's playing well. So just, you want to win a game too. So keep him out there and be cautious about your starting quarterback's injury at that point.
And I think the other part of it too is that you don't want to take any risk of Will ruining your evaluation process for the rest of the season. Yeah. And I think that you also hear in Bryan Callahan saying things like, we need to see what Will is. We need to let him prove himself over the course of this year. Well, he can't really prove himself if you put him back in after he gets hurt and he takes a hit because one of your offensive linemen can't block for more than a second, and all of a sudden, now it's Mason Rudolph time for the rest of the season.
Yeah, great point, Will. And to know, too, your quarterback. You know who Will Levis is. How did he kind of get the shoulder messed up? I mean, he's aggressive. He dove for the first down. He's not going to automatically change the way he plays a game, especially on Monday Night Football. They're trying to get their first win of the season. He's going to do everything he can to lay his body out on the line. And I know that has been discussed with him many times. Unfortunately, can't yank that out of somebody who just has always done that. I think that was smart, too, because you know who your quarterback is. They can put themselves in risky business sometimes, and they didn't want to see that happen again when you already kind of are working with a little bit of a bum shoulder.
So we talked about this yesterday about when is the earliest you could see a change happening. When could Mason Rudolph possibly be the guy? If it's not now, then when does that point come? After hearing Bryan Callahan talk yesterday, have you adjusted or changed your mindset on that when you hear the head coach say that we're not close to a quarterback controversy right now?
I think I'm a little bit confused, if I want to be honest, about this situation, because I completely understand having to develop a quarterback, by the way, which was not necessarily a quarterback you chose. This was the quarterback that was here. And Bryan Callahan did everything he could with the staff to surround him with, weapons to help him this year. But if you're trying to develop a quarterback over a year's period of time, and that's seemingly to be what it is right now, because you can't just sit on someone forever and make a decision in this NFL day and age. You just can't.
Right.
So if that is truly the case, which if it is, that's fine, then I believe it will be the whole season that we're going to see Will Levis in at starting quarterback, unless barring an injury, which is always something with guys that are mobile quarterbacks. We've seen it with Anthony Richardson, who's a young mobile quarterback. We've seen it with Will Levis. They haven't worked out all that hero kind of situation sometimes when they try to do a little too much or don't slide when they need to slide. So that could be a situation where that might not help him if he gets into an injury situation. But other than that, I feel like at this point, he's probably going to be there till the end of the season. But it does question the whole winning culture thing, because if you continue to not win games, then you can't control that locker room.
Right.
Because I don't care what anyone says. I've been in the locker room when they've suffered multiple losses recently, and it is different. And it is hard to even have guys in there to talk to you, because it does start to divide. So that's a hard thing to balance on what you really want to do. But if your priority is the quarterback and figuring it out, then that's what it is.
I do think that this is where we've got to remember that the collaborative approach that we've discussed a lot within the Titans facility will tell us the confidence they have in Will Levis and the confidence they have in Bryan Callahan. Because I think at other places where an owner might get more involved in a coach's first season, you might see a change now. Like the Houston Texans fired a coach after one season 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
With Lovie Smith and David Culley before they eventually got to DeMeco Ryans. I think in Carolina, you're seeing a coach in Dave Canales who has to do everything he can to win immediately because David Tepper's track record is what it is, right? If he doesn't show some sign of progress within that organization, he might be gone. Mm-hmm. And they might just pull the plug on him after year 1. I mean, heck, they've already done it with Frank Reich. I think Amy Adams-Strunk and her ability to give Bryan Callahan the time that he needs is evident here. Because I think if Bryan Callahan was looking over his shoulder at all, or if Rand Carthon or anybody in that building felt like it was a make or break it now or never, hey, you get this year to prove yourself, otherwise you're out, maybe you contemplate a change more quickly. But I think that them sticking with Will Levis shows alignment within that organization that this is a rebuild. And this is a season now where you pivot the priorities just a half a step, and you hope that Will Levis can be competitive enough to where you can maybe compete at the AFC South, while also recognizing that, hey, if it doesn't go well with Will, we pull the plug on Levis, and this group of front office members, your head coach, your quarterback's coach, everybody's safe here. Because I felt like if they weren't safe, maybe you would start to see the Rudolph controversy start a little bit.
I think in past years, yeah, it could have gone that way, because I think you're right about the alignment of this organization right now. I don't think they've ever been more aligned and on the same page, and the communication has been brought up so many times when we've spoke with so many of the different people that are in management here, whether it be Chad Brinker or Rand Carthon. The communication word always comes up, and I truly believe they have that from top to bottom, even with coaches and assistant coaches, right? We've had that conversation before where I think they're more allowed to just be trusted to doing their jobs as long as they're communicating with the head coach and the defensive coordinator. So I think they are all aligned in saying, hey, we have to give Will this amount of time to really see if he's going to be the guy moving forward, because at least at the end of it, if it doesn't go our way, at least you can, I know it's going to be hard to suffer through some losses throughout the season if that is the case and it doesn't go their way, but at least then I think then it's time to go get our quarterback.
Yeah.
And if you do figure it out, well, bang, like good for you. And maybe that meant you built upon your year and you see a lot more wins maybe towards the end of the year than you expected because you see the growth of the quarterback. It's a patient situation, and I know that's hard, especially this day and age. It's hard to be patient. I get it. You spend your money on tickets. I get all of that. But it is something that they're choosing to do the way they want to do it.
Sure.
Because in the past, it has been a little bit disconnected and sloppy. And I think this is the way they're going to do it. And they're not going to veer from that.
Coming up, there is another trend that I think Titans fans should start to be aware of. Something we would not have been able to say after week 1 or 2, but a conversation I am ready to have on October the 2nd. I think you're going to like it. We got that coming for you next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait, find out. Because at Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes right there on site, all right? Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients. And super important here, their personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. They aren't just basic standard treatments for established patients. Also, they offer convenience, physician monitor at-home treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. Also, at Low T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So, get back to your best, fellas. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Wednesday morning, midpoint of the week. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Going to talk some Vols coming up in hour 2, so hang on for that in about a half hour. And coming up in 15 minutes, Ramon Foster will grace us with his presence.
Yeah, he gave us an update.
That's right. Once again, an excused absence. We have allowed him to sleep in this morning because the guy came in from a Titans team plane at about 3 a.m. and then did the show yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to ask him, honestly, guys, that does getting an extra hour of sleep or coming in at 7, does that actually feel any different? Because we wouldn't know, all of us. We come in here and we're here at 6 a.m.
Essentially, you have us being the opener, and then he's like the starting pitcher that's going to come in.
Yes.
For most of the game, but we're going to go with the it is October now. We're going to go with the new age baseball opener method. Mm-hmm. Just get the party started a little bit. So Ramon will be here in a couple minutes. Is it too early to say this Titans rookie class is good? Because I don't think it's too early to at least say that the early returns on the Titans 2024 draft class are very positive. And I say this, Caleb, because I went back yesterday and looked at all the draft classes that I can remember. And I will say comfortably, at least in the last 10 years, I do not remember a full draft class that got off to this good of a start over the first 4 weeks of the season. Granted, this is a unique season. A lot of them are being forced to play roles and are starters, and Jarvis Brownlee goes down to Miami. PFF gives him an 82.3 defensive grade. He's forced into the fire. T'Vondre Sweat's a starter. J.C. Latham is a starter. Jaquan Jackson's on special teams. Can you remember a time, though, where we were this positive about a Titans draft class 1 month into a season?
This has definitely been, I think, the best in terms of backing it up. And I know it's still early, but why not? Why not say that? You got guys contributing all over the place. You just listed them. And that is expected always, I think, of your first round pick. Usually you see them on the field right away, especially a top 10 pick in this year, which was offensive tackle J.C. Latham. A lot of people curious as if he would be able to move over to that left side and have success. Well, folks, I would say 4 games into the season, after maybe having a difficult game against the Chicago Bears, I believe that he is trending in a very positive direction. Mm-hmm. And there's just something special and different about J.C. Latham. He gets it. He's going to fix those issues. It might not be perfect this whole year, but I think he's proven early on that he can be so dominant on that left side. He's also going to be a leader on that line. He already kind of is as a rookie. And so I think that's just a home run in general, and that's relieving to a lot of Titans fans, I think, knowing these first-round picks have not gone their way in the past. In the past several years, these first-round picks have really disappointed, and that's a fact. And then you got T'Vondre Sweat, the question marks around him coming in. Would he be able to be a pro? Would he be able to be a 3-down guy? Y'all, he's mauling out there. It is unbelievable to watch that young man, and he is all about football. I could go down the list. The only guy I could really say right now that is not a disappointment because he's hurt is Cedric Gray, who's on IR because of the shoulder. Sure. I think we all expected maybe him to even be a starter, but sometimes I think we overdo it a little bit, the green dot thing and everything. Fair. And guess what? I think they're fine right now with the linebackers they have, but maybe, he'll be able to come back towards the end of the season and start building on a rookie performance there. So.
Yeah, Jarvis Brownlee, 4 tackles, did not miss any tackles. Was credited with 3 stops against the Miami Dolphins. A coverage grade from PFF of 79 in filling in for Chidobe Awuzie. T'Vondre Sweat, the highest graded interior defensive lineman in all of week 4, according to Pro Football Focus. That is a significant achievement for any rookie, but also a significant achievement for a guy that didn't have his running mate with him in Jeffrey Simmons for this game. I was very pleasantly surprised at how little the Titans missed Jeff. And I'm sure there are people a lot smarter about football who could point out where they did miss him, maybe at times on Monday night, but T'Vondre Sweat looked like a younger Jeffrey Simmons in a lot of ways, although their playing styles are a bit different.
Yeah, and that's so encouraging, just knowing that T'Vondre Sweat can do it with Jeffrey Simmons by his side, and that's still, growing. And I think they're going to be able to do even more things. We've heard Art and Key say they're trying to find ways not for Jeff to get doubled up on all the time. Yep. But it is very promising knowing that they are able to do it with T'Vondre Sweat there in the middle without even another guy in Keandre Colburn, who he kind of just has that chemistry with because they're Texas guys, right? They're very good friends. They kind of know each other well. Sebastian Joseph Day and T'Vondre Sweat worked very well together and did a heck of a job on Monday Night Football, kind of holding things down. Sure. So I think that's a great sign, Will, and I think he's only going to get better. That sounds cliche to say, but Sweat, dude, he's on a mission, and he does it very not intentionally, because if you talk to him in the locker room, he's just kind of that guy that's fun, and he likes to talk about stuff other than football sometimes. But he is all about the game. He wants to win.
A fun fact for you guys, T'Vondre Sweat essentially playing the same number of snaps, the same percent number of snaps as Arden Key. Arden Key has played 2 more snaps on defense than T'Vondre Sweat is. Wow. And it's just, you guys have talked about it, but incredible for somebody who was picked on for the weight coming into camp.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at previous Titans draft classes, and let's not even make it the whole draft class. Let's just say your first 2 picks. The last time these first 2 picks that you took were this big of contributors immediately, Skoronski and Levis last season. No, Levis hadn't played yet. Traylon Burks and Roger McCreary in 2022. Burks, that's probably your best argument, right? Because McCreary was immediately a contributor, and Traylon Burks that season in 2022 had some targets, was in the offense, but through the first 4 weeks of the season, he had, at that point, 10 catches in 4 weeks. So I wouldn't put him at the level of contributing that J.C. Latham and T'Vondre Sweat are. Caleb Farley, Dylan Radins, no. Isaiah Wilson, Christian Fulton, I don't even have to explain that one. Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown. A.J. was a huge contributor, but Jeff wasn't available yet. Rashawn Evans, Harold Landry. Evans wasn't really a starter right away. Will Compton, shout out, busting with the boys, was the one in there at first. Corey Davis and Dory Jackson in 2017. It's really the last time that you had 2 guys hit the ground running and be contributing this much. And even still, Corey Davis wasn't doing much.
No.
Early in that 2017 season. We were talking more about the second-year guy, Tajay Sharp, the 5th-round pick in 2016. So all that to say, this is, at least in the last 7 years, the most influential your first 2 picks have been through the first month of the season. I think it's a good thing for this team moving forward. 615-737-1045. Ramon will join us coming up next, and we'll give him a chance, along with you, to react to what Bryan Callahan said yesterday about Will Levis coming up.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation. Right now, buy 2. Get 2 windows free and pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. Kayla, October is the best time to go ahead and get those new windows before it gets cold outside.
That is right, because, we still might have our AC on, and hopefully, you're keeping that AC in and saving money if you have windows from Window Nation. But it is the time of year, too, where you want to keep the heat in. It's just around the corner. Winter is. And you can upgrade your home by buying new windows from our friends at Window Nation. Their customers rave about the results. Albert says, great value, great product, great customer service, highly recommended. You may hear similar offers from other home improvement companies, but this is why we trust Window Nation. They are truly the window experts, professional installation teams. They have over 10 years of experience and 96% customer satisfaction rating. You can believe us. You can believe over the 10,000 positive online reviews. All you got to do is check them out for their offer this coming month. It's buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus no down payment, no interest, and no payments for 24 months. You can give them a call at 866-90Nation or check them out at windownation.com.
What's going on? 7:03. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Tennessee Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons said yesterday in media availability suffering from a Tommy John ligament-like injury to his left elbow. The injury caused Simmons to miss the Titans' 31-12 win over the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. Simmons told trainers that he felt like he could play Friday but was held out of practice. His plan is to come back in Week 6 when the Titans host the Colts at Nissan Stadium. Raiders star wide receiver Devontae Adams informed the team yesterday that he preferred to be traded. Las Vegas had informed other teams that they would consider trading the wide receiver for a package that included a second-round pick and additional compensation. Some suspensions announced yesterday, mainly Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills being suspended 4 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Miller will be eligible for reinstatement on October 28th following the Bills' Week 8 game against the Seattle Seahawks. And former Titan Caleb Farley signing with the Panthers practice squad. The one-time Titan first-round pick was released in camp now in Carolina. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes into hour number 2 on this brisk fall Wednesday in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. RKW, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh is our producer. Ramon Foster on his way in. He is the starting pitcher that is coming out of the bullpen for the first time. Look, in October, your roles change sometimes.
Right.
Within the pitching staff, we'll bring in the big right-hander coming up in just a moment. Kayla, we are seeing Ramon suffer from something that our audience and our listeners are suffering from as we talk to them every morning. That is the 7 a.m. traffic that is significantly different from the 6 a.m. traffic.
See, friends, that's the one benefit from getting in your car. For me, it's 5:30 because I live a little bit further away. Getting in your car and just kind of taking your time. Don't worry about traffic getting here between 6 and then the jump to 7 because it completely is different. And that's only from hearsay because I've not had to deal with that, Will. But I think Ramon will be able to actually tell us firsthand now what that is like to defeat traffic.
That's right. It's always what I would say when people would leave a sporting event early. You know, if it's, say, a Tennessee game, go Vols, beat traffic. Mm-hmm. You know, instead of the other team. Oh, look at this.
He's even running in. It wasn't even just a casual. There it is, out of the bullpen.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Now pitching for 104.5 The Zone. A right-hander from the University of Tennessee, Ramon Foster.
There it is.
What's up, good people?
What's going on?
Running red lights.
We were talking about the traffic and you having to experience at a different time.
Hey, it's a different animal after 6 a.m., okay? Dang. It really is. I try to grab my headphones here.
I love Ramon. He's like out of breath.
I was running.
If you're wondering, Ramon is just running in the door. He had a little bit of time this morning to sleep in, so he's joining us at 7, and he just made his way through traffic and ran up the stairs.
I told y'all 7, so I was going to be here
that
at 7. Try to build momentum. Hey, there we go. Now I'm back in.
We had bullpen music for you there.
That was awesome.
We had wildfire for you.
That was actually funny. I shouldn't have been reading my text and driving. But what I'm telling you is this. Wow. When there was traffic, I stopped and looked down, and I laughed at that. I'm
breaking all sorts of laws this morning.
I did. No, I did, man. I ran the light right there. Hopefully there was no cop right there to see me. But if it
they
was,
probably would have let you go.
Appreciate you guys. And
you made it either way.
I did. It was safely.
Well, we appreciate you coming in yesterday on about 30 minutes of sleep. So at least we could do.
Listen. That was a day because not only that, I had my secondary job I was doing yesterday too. Mm-hmm. And we had a football game last night. By the way, shout out to the TW Hunter Bucks. won district last night.
Nice.
Playing a championship this Saturday. I'm part of the coaching staff, so it was really, really cool, man. It was a fun game last night.
Love it.
Physical,
Very cool.
too.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
What I
you
missed?
catch your breath.
Will Levis.
Bryan Callahan gave quite a vote of confidence yesterday to his starting quarterback. His starting quarterback being Will Levis. This was Bryan Callahan meeting with the media yesterday afternoon.
I appreciate Mason's professionalism. I appreciate how prepared he was and ready to go into the game. But Will is our starting quarterback, and I said it last night, and I'll reiterate it again, that when he's healthy, he's starting. Hopefully he's healthy for Indy, and we're ready to roll, and he's the starting quarterback, because it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, as everybody knows. There does take some development. Guys make young player mistakes. You see it all across the league right now, and we're going to find out everything about Will that we can. And he's going to continue to grow and get better and play better. He needs to play better for us. And at the end of the day, I believe that he will, and that's where I'm at with that whole thing. There's no controversy. There's no second guessing. That's what's happening. So that's probably as clear as I can state it.
All right, Ramon. So we've got the chance to react to this ourselves. What is your reaction to hearing the head coach say this?
One, that's what he's supposed to say. I 100% agree with him. Like, you don't lose your job in most sports because of injuries unless you just can't get back healthy again, right? Eventually, when Derrick Rose got injured and got back healthy, he was back on somebody's starting five, right? That's kind of the way this stuff goes when you're that type of guy and you're somebody's starter and you're supposed to be that guy moving forward. What I will say, I think the leash, I heard you say earlier, Kayla, I think his leash is still shorter.
Yeah.
When him saying he got to figure it out also, it lets me know that, look, whatever you thought was working for you in those moments, I need you to listen to me more. I was talking to somebody yesterday. It's just almost like training your dog. Like when you tell him sit, like stay next to me, you're still good. Like just stay at attention. We need you to be in a spot. But when you tell him to lay, that's a different kind of command right there. You're not going anywhere. I don't think he's at that point just yet. Will Levis does have to help himself and does have to grow. My thing is this is when you look at some of the things that he's done to stop his progress, right? To stop us talking about the good, it's been real bad. You know, those are the things that bother me the most, and saying he's our guy moving forward.
Let's go to Marcus in Nashville, 615-737-1045. Hey, Marcus.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
I want to speak on that also. I was just wondering, am I the only person that cheered when that boy finally laid down? I was like, oh, he finally bleeds. Lord, it's hard to get him out the game. You know what I'm saying? I was happy to see that boy get, because he was about to do the same thing he done did all the other week. He's about to lose that game for us. So I know dude is saying, he's our quarterback, and I'll follow him till he dies. I'm going to tell you right now, you better start taking your bags, baby. You won't come on, try to follow that boy. You ain't going to have no job. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So let the second string come in, do his thing. And then when he start messing up, because I think Will Levis has got to learn. And the best way to learn is to see somebody taking your job while you sitting over there on that sideline.
True.
That's the best way to learn. And if you don't learn then, and you come back in and do it, man, you just slow. As my boy say on the radio, you Nathan. All right? Just suck it. Y'all feel me? All right. Thank y'all for having me. I love you.
Marcus bringing the energy.
Thank you,
Marcus.
Marcus, call back anytime.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Anytime.
That was great.
I will say this about him mentioning I love the fact that Will Levis is a gamer, right? Like, he gets fired up, and that's what a lot of people have said. That's what we saw initially, like he's a competitor, right? But there's a difference between being a competitor and being a friggin' quarterback, too. Like, we've seen, okay, a beloved head coach here that, folks still call in and talk about, and Vrabel. Last year, right? His first year with Will Levis. What did he ask of Will Levis? I need you to stop playing hero ball and taking hits. I need you to stop right? I need you to just play quarterback. This year, immediately, Bryan Callahan comes in and asks of Will to do the exact same thing. And now eventually, we have gotten to a point to where now on Monday Night Football on the big stage, 2 coaches have told you to stop doing certain stuff. And I love him going for the first down. Any quarterback, any player, you go for the first down. I ain't even mad at that. But the exposing of yourself to land on your shoulder, which is what pays the bills for you and everybody else, honestly, in this city, there's 2 coaches that have said those things to you. At some point, that's got to be driven home. And why haven't you picked that up? And because to the point of why Mason went in, it's because of you yourself. Like, you got to stop doing those things. That's where the growth has to happen. That's where protecting yourself has to happen a little bit more. And if you got two coaches telling you the same message and you still hadn't listened yet, then where's the actual growth at? Because the same folks that was talking about, well, if we do put Mason in and we get to a point to where it's failure or it's just okay, then how optimistic are you going into next year anyway? Those are the questions you have to start asking. So if it is prove it to succeed or prove it to fail, like, how can you stomach losing this much, number one? Or is it just going to be good enough to get you a 12th overall pick or 15 overall pick, no playoffs? Like, what measurement of growth does Callahan have to see to continue to keep Will Levis as the guy? Is my only question. When you've had two coaches ask the same things, he's yet to learn. And now you also have to get to that point, too, of figuring out, can he make the decisions that he needs to in the game?
615-737-1045. That is the question we continue to answer for you and get your reaction on this morning as well. But coming up next, there is a big game coming up this weekend for the Tennessee Volunteers, and I am interested to see if Tennessee can end a trend. I'm going to give you 50 cc's, a prescription against battered Vol syndrome, a BVS, coming up next on Ramon, Kalen, and Will. What's up? It's Will Bowling. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Do you need an extra outlet or two? Or do you just have wall switches that don't seem to work? These all seem to be simple issues. I know you're probably going through the back of your head right now. You're checking off things on your mental to-do list saying, yeah, I got issues with this, with that. Well, these are rarely do-it-yourself projects. If you're like me, you try to do things yourself, you just end up making things worse. Dealing with electricity requires the expertise of an experienced professional. You got to call the pros over at Lee Company. Their electrical team can solve any problem you have safely and efficiently. And right now, you can enjoy $20 off an electrical service call for a limited time. Contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or go to leecompany.com for an appointment. That's 615-567-1000. I love trusting these folks because they have been trusted here in Middle Tennessee for 80 years. Since 1944, they're open 24/7 with 14 community locations. 615-567-1000. That's how you call Lee Company online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need.
Hey, it's Kayla. You've recently talked about, you've heard me talk about, excuse me, my hair growth journey. And not because I'm completely losing my hair, but if I look at front of my temples, I was seeing some loss there and decided to contact my friends at We Grow Hair. And they put me on a plan, great plan, because they make sure that every person who comes in there, they tailor their own plans to what they need. And I needed just a little bit of growth there. And I was able to achieve that. And I'm still continuing to go on my hair growth journey. Did you know you could lose up to 50% of your hair before you even notice it? We Grow Hair's PRP plate rich plasma treatments are excellent for seeing results within just a couple of months. They also have their FDA approved laser therapy. Super simple. You go in there, it's 30 minutes, you're out the door. That has helped as well. And I could already see a difference in my hair over the last few months. They also have their trademarked transplant procedure. That's going to give you 3 times more hair and in just one procedure if you're looking to get more out of that. For almost 30 years, they've been doing it. They've been Nashville's hair restoration premier medical clinic. You don't have to wait. You can get on your hair growth journey. WeGrowHair.com. You can schedule a free evaluation. All you got to do is call them 615-376-6010. That's 615-376-6010 or go to WeGrowHair.com.
Tuesday morning, getting the show started on RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Full crew in studio. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Boulding. Robert Walsh is our producer. Coming up in an hour, Voice the Titans, Mike Keith. At 9 a.m. this morning, Rhett, Bryan, Inky Johnson, midweek motivation coming up at the end of the program. Tennessee will head to Fayetteville, Arkansas, to take on the Razorbacks this weekend. They are a 2-touchdown favorite on the road. They are the number 4 team in all of the land. Guys, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that in 2 consecutive seasons, there has been a letdown game away from home for Tennessee. Is it fair to say that this would fit into that category? Because South Carolina 2022, Missouri last year, you're looking at a team that is beatable, that you probably should beat, who might give you problems. And of the rest of the games they have on the road, Vanderbilt's a home game in Nashville, and Georgia, obviously, is Georgia. So if that script was going to be followed, I am not suffering from battered Vols syndrome here, but I'm going to play the role of BVS because I know many of you out there listening to the sound of our voices do suffer from battered Vols syndrome. Is it fair to say that this is the game you circle and say, uh-oh, a little bit, if you are a Tennessee fan that is prone to BVS?
You could. I see a pathway into living that life for sure. One is you always think when you know you've had bad kids for a long time, hey, we're going to somebody's cookout. Don't you dare embarrass me. And next thing you know, a vase is broken because why? You don't have good home training and you've been bad. And Tennessee's been bad, or you've had major letdown moments here and there. The way I look at this one, man, is the reason I asked that question yesterday when it came to Austin Price joining us. Has Coach Heupel learned? Has Coach Heupel been in a position to where, hey, the adjustments of keeping your team engaged like Kirby did or Coach Saban did, right? And he said it's not just him, it's the Rodney Garners that he has on his team, right? It's the Mike Ecklers, Tim Banks in his defense. And also this, too. I think we're seeing Tennessee benefiting in a major way over fifth-year seniors, COVID seniors, and stuff like that. Like the retention of that staff or that group of young men, I think is why you don't have that happen, because you've been in moments where you're supposed to win games and then you lose them, right? Not closing out at in Knoxville against Ole Miss. Well, Amari Thomas was there for that game, right? Because Tim Banks was coaching that game, right? So these situations of going on the road is where the experience, where Tennessee hasn't had good players be in those experience type of moments, is where you kind of lay your hat. And I'll say this part of it too. Last year, I think was a buffer learner year for Joey Housley, right? As far as play calling. I know I feel
he's
like
not calling plays right now.
Heupel got his hands on it, right? But, and maybe that's the other part.
Josh Heupel's calling plays this year.
You see what I'm saying? So it's that side of it. If it was still Housley, I'm saying there's more experience there. But since it's Heupel, wasn't ready. But I look at it and say the experience of dudes that's played it, you throw in Rodney Garner, Mike Eckler, and even I throw Glenn Ellaby in it. Like, looking at what he's done in the last couple of games with the tackles, right?
Yeah.
He's answered the call on saying, okay, he's a valid coach in the SEC on the O-line.
You're right. I've got that flip. Housley is the one this year. I don't know why I got that opposite.
Yeah.
I think it's Tuesday and it's Wednesday, and I just got that flip. But yes, you are right. I think last year was quote-unquote red shirt year.
Yeah.
For Joey Housley a little bit, and now he's more of what Alex Kolish was in 2022.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you, Ramon, that the biggest edge is that the Vols have
good players.
What'd you say it like that for?
I don't know why. I was emphasizing.
Did you just clip that?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, I still thought it was
good.
I don't have a problem with it.
Not good. Good.
See, just say you miss me already, man. Golly.
It was only an hour.
It was only an
hour.
That's
Calm
what
down.
I'm saying.
This is how I flirt,
down.
man. I'm just dipping your pigtails in the inkwell. This is how I flirt.
Oh, my gosh.
Just say that.
So, Kayla, from your perspective, is this Tennessee team built in a different way to not be susceptible to that road letdown game?
I think so. And I do get where you guys have that BVS. I have certain situations with my football team that I have that kind of situation where certain games you're going into where you just won a big game and you feel like there's a letdown game coming. I think all fan bases have a little bit of that. And so I see where Tennessee fans get the South Carolina loss, the Florida loss.
Right.
But this team has grown a lot since then. And we talked about Josh Heupel and how impressed we were with him going into the Oklahoma week. Very emotional week for him, probably just with his ties to Oklahoma and just how he handled it in the media. He seemed to be maybe even a little different of how he approached things. And I think Josh Heupel has grown as a coach. And I think this team has grown. And there's a lot of young guys, yes, but there is a lot of young guys who have gotten experience early on in the season with how much they've been able to play. So when you saw linemen go down, it was next man up, next man up. They kind of expect this team at this point, even ran with a young quarterback, to have that maturity and to be able to handle those road situations, because it is going to be hostile down there. Arkansas is a really good atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And it is a night game. But there's something about it, guys. As much as I think Arkansas has some weapons, their run game is really, really good. There's just something about this Tennessee team, and I think it's primarily because the defense is so good that it's hard for me to think this is like one of those trap games.
My I guess the other point I would have to drive home is Arkansas better than what we thought NC State was? And
Probably.
I think maybe
so?
a little bit.
I think Arkansas is about 2 plays away from being 5-0.
Yeah, and Heupel even said that this week.
That's exactly what he said. He said if a couple games go a little bit differently, they're 5-0. And I know that, I mean, you could play that game with anybody.
That's true.
In college football at this point of the season because you played enough games, but they should have beaten Oklahoma State. Didn't.
Yeah.
Made a couple of critical mistakes at the end of that game that cost them, and were within an arm's length of Texas A&M.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, but they did not close.
No, they didn't.
They did not close.
And that means something.
Yes, it does. And because the same conversation we can have about Tennessee being able to dial it back. I think, and that's the other thing. You brought this up time and time again. The fact they can win in different ways. This year so far, you can run the points up on teams you're supposed to be. And this is why I feel like this team is. They understand that in games where we're supposed to win, we're supposed to dominate, they've done it so far. And that's the one thing that I believe in that I don't think we thought last year.
Yeah. Where I think Tennessee fans should feel a little bit more comfortable about this matchup with Arkansas specifically as we kind of dive into the details of it. I don't think a team with a bad offensive line is going to beat Tennessee this year, and Arkansas has a bad offensive line. That's a big blanket statement. Obviously, Tennessee could sack Taylor Green 5 times, and then Nico could throw 4 picks, hypothetically, and I'd be sitting here saying, yeah, okay, they lost to a team with a bad offensive line. Like, you could always beat yourself.
Right.
But this Arkansas offensive line has allowed 12 sacks in 5 games with 33 stops as well behind the line of scrimmage. They blocked the run well because Utah transfer Jaquindon Jackson leads the SEC in rushing so far this year with Dylan Sampson right behind him. But I don't think they're going to be able to protect Taylor Green well enough to move the ball successfully enough against Tennessee.
Taylor Green, to me, is the X factor that helps them lose the game. And for this reason, those sacks that you mentioned, I wonder how many of those are him rolling out of the pocket and running out of bounds to that point, And
he has a lot of moments that wow you, but he also has a lot of moments where you shake your head and say, buddy, what are you doing?
The consistency level.
He's got 5 touchdowns and 5 picks to go with his 1,200 yards this year.
So that's where I was going to say. His one, I'm eating that up this week. I'm actually trying to flush him as many times as I can to the left because he can be dynamic, rolling to the right and throwing across his body, which is also where the 5 picks I'm sure come into play for a guy like him. Staying steady and having, to our point, just droves of rushers that can get after him and stay on him. Whether we heard Austin say Arian Carter, this is his type of game. Keaton Peely, this is their types of games right here to kind of close him out because he's long and rangy and can still sling the ball down the field, cross body. But how would you, as an offensive coordinator, as good as Bobby Petrino is, trust him in these moments in this type of game in Arkansas? I just don't know if I see how this defense can get thrown off of what they've done so far with the level of discipline they've had on the road already in Norman.
And I just think that goes to show, again, we emphasize this a lot, but the depth of this defense, because that's the thing. I mean, you can rely on so many guys, even rotating up front. It gives them time to take a breath, and I don't think every team has the luxury of that either. You saw the chaos they created for Oklahoma's quarterback in that game, so much that he had to be benched for the freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's the only thing when you have a little bit more of an erratic quarterback, like we see in Taylor Green at times. He does a lot of good things, but you can also do a lot of things that create problems for your own team or shooting yourself in the foot in situations. I think the defense is going to take every advantage of that. And even if there is a big play, maybe it's followed up by making him make a mistake.
Yeah.
So I just think there's more consistency with the Tennessee defense for the Vols than there is with the quarterback of the Razorbacks.
I think there's one area where Arkansas will swing the pendulum in the other direction, though, is that Taylon Green last week against Texas A&M on the ground, 13 carries for 6 yards. Mm-hmm. And typically when you have a strength of your quarterback that is not utilized in a week, they're going to do everything possible to make sure that does not happen again on Saturday against Tennessee.
You're reading my mind. Will you please stop, okay? Because that's where I was going to head to. Like, I will say and be a realist in this aspect, whether they game form or couldn't adjust to him, the backup quarterback that came into the Oklahoma game did extend a couple of plays with his legs.
Michael Hawkins.
Michael Hawkins. Now named starter, right?
Yeah.
And also this, too. Their starting defensive backs, Hudson Clark and also Jalen Braxton, did not play in the A&M game. I expect them to play in this night game here, too. The question is, can they handle coming back from injuries against that wide receiving core that we have? Now, again, they weren't at a strength. They lost to A&M, et cetera, and the quarterback didn't run. These are things, Will, that will be an emphasis, in my opinion, this week.
Arkansas's path to win this game is for Taylon Green to make the kind of jump that Spencer Rattler did 2 years ago and to just literally play out of his mind and do things that he has not shown this year. I thought this was interesting from Sam Pittman post-game on Saturday. Said the defense was messing with him. They were running at him, running at the mesh. They were sitting there reading the mesh. Goes on to say he's got a lot on his plate. I think he'll be fine. Said the looks were difficult for him that the Texas A&M defense was giving him. He went on to say, I think we've had so many pressures that we've got a lot of problems. We've got a confidence problem.
Oops.
We have a quarterback that's not confident. Sam Pittman goes on to say there's times where he can stand in the pocket, that there is one there. There's times when he stays in the pocket and he gets hit. So probably in between, and we tried a lot of quick passing game as well. Guys, that does not sound like a quarterback who can beat a veteran Tennessee defense that's going to be able to tell you the flavor of his breath mint. They're going to be up in his grill so much.
Yeah, the confidence thing that's a real thing, especially at the college level. If you don't have that, and we've seen it with quarterbacks in the past that have gotten benched, even with Jalen Milroe back, I think it was early last year when there was a situation where he got benched. Yeah, and there was a lot of questions about the confidence of him at that point. That's a scary thing, and that's actually scary for him to admit and have that out for Tennessee to draw blood on. Because if I'm Tennessee and I'm that defense, I am salivating at the chance to make him even less confident in his game if he's already kind of questioning himself. And look, they've had a pretty difficult schedule. Oklahoma State, like we mentioned early on in the season when they were ranked, Auburn, Texas A&M. So they've been going up against pretty legit competition. But if he still hasn't been able to muster his confidence in any of those games, I start to worry about a game like this where I think we know Tennessee is the best team that they'll face up to this point.
For sure.
No doubt.
I think Landon Jackson, the LSU transfer, the guy to watch defensively for Arkansas, 6.5 sacks, 13.5 TFLs to start the season already. Defensively, that's their path to be successful is have him and that big defensive front just beat Tennessee's offensive linemen.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to have to beat Tennessee this year is just be better than Tennessee up front on offense.
What do most players do whenever they're in a rut? They say, man, I'm going back to my old ways. I'm going to just do me, right? Mm-hmm. That's where Taylon Green, I feel like, in use of his legs.
It's backyard football.
It's backyard football time, right?
I literally think that is Arkansas's only way to win this game is Taylon Green channels his inner Spencer Rattler. Two guys that have probably never been compared before because one's about 5'10" and the other's about 7'8".
No, for real.
I mean, Taylon Green looks like an action figure.
He's tall.
He looks like Cam Newton. Looks like Joe Milton. Like he's got that level of physicality to him. I think it'll be a fun game. These are just the kinds of games, guys, in college football. And I don't even say this from the Tennessee fan perspective, but like you get this level of an OC and this level of a quarterback, and anything can happen.
Anything. Yeah, and I'm expecting a good show, a good game, though, seriously. It's a night game in the SEC. Like, nobody's ever going to lay down.
We just saw Kentucky do it at Ole Miss. I mean,
to your point, here I was overly confident going down to Florida last year. right? The home effect does play a part of it.
Sure.
It's how poised can they be?
And they are not two teams that meet a lot. The last meeting between these two was 2020. But they just overall have not met a lot, which always makes it more fun, too, because you're not as used to seeing that team.
I mean, Ramon was on the last team that beat him.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
It was 07, yeah.
Yep, sure was.
We won't talk about the 06 game.
No, we will not. I know that game.
Skip that one.
Trooper Bill is in Lebanon this morning, 615-737-1045. What's up, Bill?
What's up, guys? Nice to talk to you this morning. Everybody doing well?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
I want to talk Vols for a second, but I gotta dig on Ramon. You know, Ramon, it's you treating the red lights like Will Levis treats Miami linebackers.
Hey,
true. Never saw him.
Never saw him. That's great.
Joke of the week, right there. We got it.
At least that's the excuse. If you did get that, I never saw it.
Hey, Triple Bill, it seems like there was somebody in the light that didn't see me, so I'll take your word on that one, okay?
No, the veteran ball syndrome, yeah, it's a real thing, but I'm excited. I think we get up for Arkansas. I mean, the defense, like you said, they're going to control a game. Taylor Green, the last 3 games, I think he's been sacked 3 times. Let's go ahead and double those numbers. Let's make it 6, maybe a pick or 2. I think the Vols take this game. I'm going to do what I hope they don't, and we'll go ahead and look forward a little bit. But I'm salivating for Florida week. I want a Kent State type game in Neyland for Florida week. But yeah, we got to get through Arkansas first. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. Go Vols.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Trooper Bill.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah. It's that type of game, man. But the good thing is for Florida, this game right here is challenging enough to where you don't drop the ball, right? That's the way I feel about it.
I feel like this is a well-coached team at this point that at least we don't have to probably worry about any of that either. Like, Arkansas is going to be enough of a handful on a night game to have to look ahead to what has been a thorn in your side in Florida. Yeah. So at least you also feel confident as a ball fan of, okay, I think Heupel has this ship in the right direction.
No doubt.
From what you hear around that building in Knoxville, they are not looking ahead to Alabama and Florida already.
No.
I think they're focused week by week. And I know it's cliche, but I do believe it out of that place based on kind of the things you read and hear about the way Josh Heupel's running that program right now.
And I can go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That's my fault, Ramon.
No.
You can't overlook Arkansas because they've got
good players. I'm no longer going to say my statement.
615-737-1045. Got a couple of you that want to react to Bryan Callahan's comments on Will Levis. We can get to that coming up. Plus, Davante Adams says he wants a trade. I have got a dark horse team for you that you probably didn't think about, who I think is going to be his next team. That's next.
Hey guys, it's Ramon Foster. If you're feeling at a loss of energy or just not upbeat like you used to, it could be low testosterone. That's right. It affects our moods. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, can help you get back to your best. But guys, have different T levels, all right? We're not all the same. So don't go for TRT, referred to as standard dosage planning. No, ask around, all right? There is a difference. Look for TRT with an optimized personal treatment plan like you'll get with the experts at Low T Center. They provide advanced therapy and with over a decade of experience. So go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online, all right? That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, wrapping up the first half of the show on this Wednesday morning. 615-737-1045. How you join us. Davante Adams wants a trade, potentially, but the wording of this interesting yesterday from ESPN.com, saying the Raiders have informed other teams that they would consider trading Davante Adams for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. So in other words, teams are not willing to pay a second-round pick, so the Raiders went public to put this out there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a team I think Davante Adams is going to end up on. A team with cap space, a young quarterback, in a division that's very winnable. The Washington Commanders need to trade for Davante Adams.
I didn't expect you to say that team.
The Washington Commanders would become contenders. How crazy is that to say with Davante Adams? Fair?
Wild, but
I think
fair.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
It's very fair,
with the
man.
start they've gotten off to. And they've already got Terry McLaurin, who is excellent. But why not help the man out? My goodness, he's not had a lot of help in the years past. Now you actually have a quarterback that can get you the ball. And I think if you had an extra weapon to help out with that, as much as Davante Adams has kind of withered away a little bit in Raiders just because we don't talk about him as much, he's still, you guys, in the last couple of years has gone for over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean,
4 years in a row.
Yeah, this is still a guy that can do it at a high level. He would just be ecstatic having a young quarterback, I'm sure.
And Field Yates of ESPN was the one who said the Commanders thing first. This was not I'm not that smart, not an original idea, but
take that.
I'm running with it. I think that's the team.
Yeah.
It's legit.
I mean, legitimately, they have Luke McCaffrey as one of their. He'd be inserted into this offense as soon as possible. And the thing about it, with Terry McLaurin, they have the deep threat. Davante can just do what he does up the middle on the sideline. And Jaden Daniels has proven that he can get the ball to him. Well, I'm with you. That division is wide open as far as the plays as far as who can take it over. And what better way to assist a rookie quarterback than with a very veteran guy like him who's looking to get down the field and push his numbers. Let's be real. He want to still push his numbers. He's not getting the ball the way he wants to.
And he wants to win.
Vegas.
He wants to win. And it's not like they're not winning at all there, but I think Washington, too, you would start to hear more about Davante because, quite frankly, I don't even hear much about him anymore.
Yeah.
Was out with a hamstring injury week 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those, too, that's a, quote-unquote hamstring injury.
You see what did it? What did it for him, though, is Antonio Pierce liking post that he should be traded.
Yep.
Or played his last game.
That's what he told
I don't
Kay
like
Adams.
that.
Yeah,
Davante Adams said, all I can control is this talk we're having right here. And after we're done with this, all I can control is the next thing that I'm on to.
Would you guys trade for Davante Adams if it meant that you had to sign him to an extension in doing so? He will be 32 in December.
Depends on the team.
If you're the Commanders, say.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was the Commanders, yes.
Yeah, because you have wiggle room with
So
stuff.
much space.
And I'd put that contract into my hands as far as when I can cut you, when your money actually ends. I think there's a pathway to doing that, Bert.
For sure. You've seen them do it with veterans. They were able to convince Bobby Wagner to come to the East Coast, never played outside the West Coast before. So they have ponied up for free agents before.
And that's paid off for them, too. Bobby Wagner, man, goodness.
I know.
He's been
He's still good.
A culture resetter numerous
Telling you.
times, it seems like.
And honestly, you talk about the guy, Quandre Diggs, who came here. He's been really great for this Titans defense as well.
He is the Titans defense Iron Man, playing close to 100%. I think he's at 99% of the defensive snaps.
Now, nationally, the conversation will be about the Jets because of the Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams connection. But
Of course.
good luck finding the money and the ability to do that. They don't have the flexibility. And I know if you really want to make a move happen, you could do it. But
How much better?
they got bigger issues.
How much better does it make the Jets, though? It's
Well, they
the
just
real
lost
question.
to the Broncos. I just want to.
It's like in a very low, anemic style of
10-9.
You got
offense.
Garrett Wilson out there saying things like, I see other teams trying things that we're not trying.
That's never good.
Robert
Will.
Saleh is not going to make it.
He gone.
He's not going to make it. On paper, we knew that they still were a really good team, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Nope.
I love how much it's obvious the relationship between him and Aaron Rodgers have just soured in real time. Like anytime Saleh will say something in a press conference and they'll ask Rodgers about it and be like, yeah, that's not the way I see it. We're practicing. He'll just contradict him at every opportunity to do so.
No one man should have all that power. This is what happens when they gave Aaron Rodgers the keys to the car, to the franchise at this point. They're only averaging 19 points a game. with Aaron Rodgers. That blows my mind.
No. So between Robert Saleh and Doug Peterson, you got two coaches that are just not really making it work. I don't know if throwing a diva wide receiver into all of that drama is going to make things better. I feel like it might just make things worse.
Yeah, there's too many talking people over there in the Jets organization right now.
Everyone needs
People that
one
like to
diva
talk.
receiver, but Devontae Adams would be one too many diva receivers in New York.
And Terry McLaurin is not a diva receiver. Let me make that clear. So I think it would be fine there. It's not like they would have too much of that. So
He's a good two.
yeah.
I mean, he's a passable one. McLaurin is, but he'd be he's your ideal number 2 receiver.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
Devontae would go in and get his touches.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
100%.
as he should.
Yeah, he would.
Definitely.
Washington makes the most sense. Goodness.
615-737-1045. We will get to your reaction on Will Levis and Mason Rudolph coming up. What Bryan Callahan said yesterday about his quarterback and the lack of a controversy here in Nashville on the other side.
Well, Beth says she's 5'7". Well, I tell you what, Ron Slayer's not 6'8", and I said that and I stand on it, okay? But that's neither here nor there because I'm here to speak to you about Hiller Cooley Plumbing, Heating, and HVAC, all right? What I'm here to tell you is right now it's the spooky season and everyone's thinking about Halloween. This month is all treats and no tricks with my friends at Hiller. During the spooky Good Fall giveaway, you can get some cool gifts right here. Free Blackstone Griddle, Solo Stove, or Yeti Tundra Cooler with select home upgrades, all right? Or just simply enjoy $99 specials like an HVAC tune-up that I was telling you about. For more details, simply visit happyhiller.com.
What's going on? 8 o'clock on the dot. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Tennessee Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons said yesterday in media availability he had a Tommy John-like injury to his left elbow. The injury caused Simmons to miss the Titans' 31-12 win over the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. Simmons told trainers on Friday that he felt like he could play, but was held out of practice. His plan is to come back in Week 6 when the Titans host the Colts in Nissan Stadium. Raiders with star wide receiver Devontae Adams informed teams that he preferred to be traded. Las Vegas had informed other teams that they would consider trading the star wide receiver for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills, it was announced yesterday that he will be suspended 4 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Miller will be eligible for reinstatement on October 28th following the Bills' Week 8 game against the Seattle Seahawks. And in former Titan news, Caleb Farley signing with the Panthers. He will be on their practice squad. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show and hour number 3 getting started on this Wednesday morning. Welcome in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Robert Walsh makes the show go. Coming up in 20 minutes, Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. And at 9 o'clock, Rhett, Bryan, Inky Johnson at the end of the program. And in the F&M Bank chat, you react to everything we discuss and more on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Yesterday, Bryan Callahan says there is no quarterback controversy in Nashville as it pertains to Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Yes or no? Do you believe every word that he said yesterday?
Presently, yes. In future terms, no. Will. Absolutely not.
So describe to me future terms. How long in the future are we talking about where you think a controversy could start?
When there's another mistake to be made.
One mistake? Two mistakes?
One mistake.
Okay.
A phantom one the way we did. Like you said, he don't mind interceptions. It's the way they come for him, right? Like for Will Levis, if the lip readers are 100% correct, I didn't even see him. Like, you got to have an honest conversation with your coach, too. What happened on that play? Well, coach, I didn't even see him right there. Well, why did you not see him? Like, those types of moments right there is what gets you. And also, if I'm not mistaken, they probably flipped that play last year where they dropped the D lineman in coverage the exact same way.
Yeah.
That they intercepted it last year. Of course, I'm going to go back to the Honeywell on plays like that. There's those things, the processing of plays and mistakes like that, is where you sit them back down quicker.
I think right now that is definitely what they're doing. They're going to start Will Levis. You heard Bryan Callahan say, we need to see what we have in him, and it's going to take probably more than 4 games or 3.5 games to do that. Now you have a situation where you're hoping, if you're Bryan Callahan and you've come out vocally and said you're giving him a chance to be the starter if he's healthy, then you're hoping he learns from sitting on the bench this last game and watching the game from a different perspective. As competitive as Will Levis is, watching the backup quarterback, and Mason Rudolph and him have a great relationship, but that doesn't matter when it comes to competitiveness.
It was really good on the sideline.
Yeah, it is. And I respect that. But deep down inside, Ramon, we all know, whether it be our jobs or when you were playing football, like if someone goes out there in my spot,
if I see you slipping,
dude, I am like, what do I got to do?
Okay,
what do I got to fix? Like, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah,
I'm going to fix myself.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is Will's got to fix himself. Yeah. He can get all the help he wants from Bryan Callahan and, having the team support him. But if he doesn't fix himself, and if this isn't a learning moment, I don't really know what then in 4 games hasn't been a learning moment for him. There's been a lot of learning moments. At some point, that's got to click. And I think part of that is also calming himself down just a little bit, because he gets a little emotional where I don't think he can control things all the time, and it does affect sometimes what he is doing on the field. But you've got to limit, like you said, Ramon, those same types of mistakes. It's the same types of interceptions. It was the same type of bonehead mistakes to start the 2 first games. So if he can learn from that, then I do believe the leash will be long throughout the season. If not, we've always seen organizations at some point, if the culture gets pretty rough in there, if they're losing a lot of games, I don't know if you have not a choice but to put Mason in at some point, or maybe that's just going to be an absolute miserable season for this team.
I think he's still got a long leash because of a couple words that Bryan Callahan says here in this comment yesterday to the media.
I appreciate Mason's professionalism. I appreciate how prepared he was and ready to go into the game. But Will is our starting quarterback, and I said it last night, and I'll reiterate it again, that when he's healthy, he's starting. Hopefully he's healthy for Indy, and we're ready to roll, and he's the starting quarterback, because it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, as everybody knows. There does take some development. Guys make young player mistakes. You see it all across the league right now, and we're going to find out everything about Will that we can. And he's going to continue to grow and get better and play better. He needs to play better for us. And at the end of the day, I believe that he will. And that's where I'm at with that whole thing. There's no controversy. There's no second guessing. That's what's happening. So that's probably as clear as I can state it.
Word for word, quote, "We are going to find out everything about Will that we can." That does not sound to me like a head coach who is anywhere close to introducing a quarterback controversy.
Well, my thing is this, and finding out everything that you can about him, is that waiting for him to fail more? Or do you actually believe he can succeed? Because waiting to see what you can get out of him in the end, to me, sounds like, well, either you fail on your own or else we succeed because we actually believe in you. That's my thing about it, is I'm of the mindset that I feel like they're watching from behind the bushes. And hoping that he does succeed. But I think if we move on from you, there is no denying that we gave you every chance. That's where I'm at.
I think that would be the case, though, if you moved on in the Colts game. Like, it depends on when you move on, right? Not every moment to make a change is created equally.
If he goes out and have a bad showing against the Colts, is that still giving him every opportunity? Because, again, the ultimate thing here is to win. And at some point, his teammates will get upset. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's the ultimate thing to do. I think it's more complicated than just winning. I think it's 1A, 1B. Okay. The objective is to win. But from the long-term perspective, you're not tanking, but it is critical to find out if Will Levis is the guy or not. You can't be going into 2025 with a nebulous idea of, well, maybe he could still be the guy. You need to know now.
I was going to say, is this because he's just a quarterback? Because if this was a left tackle that was trash and getting the quarterback hit,
I don't know about that.
We saw MPF get benched. I mean, we saw MPF get benched.
We saw Dillard last year get benched.
But how long did it take for Mike Vrabel to move on from Dennis Daly?
But
seriously, I'm serious.
Fair.
And he wasn't even a rookie. It was November.
What other options did you have with Dillard?
Okay, or do you have another guy that is a starting caliber guy at quarterback? Because for me, Mason Rudolph did the job of a backup on Monday night in Miami.
Gotcha.
He did not do the job of a starter.
Yep.
There's a difference. He came in and managed the game. If you gave him a game plan to start, I think it might look a little bit different. I don't know if Mason Rudolph, with these pieces around him, can get you the ceiling that Will Levis can get you.
See, and that's the other thing we keep missing. Not missing, but we don't talk about this enough because there's just been so many big mistakes with Will, is they brought in all these weapons for Will Levis to surround him, to help his growth. And I think my biggest question why it is going to be hard, and it's hard for them. This is a hard decision to eventually have to make, guys. But 4 games in, I just feel like there's more bad that outweighs the good growth. And if anything, because he's played 13 games now. Let's just make that clear as well. If you look at the last 4 games, you can pick good things out, but you're always kind of saying, okay, those good things, how have we built on those good things? Instead, it's been the bad things. It's like the bad things have built on each other. At what point do you give that kind of growth that amount of time, or do you hit 4 more games in and you're still seeing that and you're like, we've seen enough? Can you see enough at midpoint from a quarterback?
I say, yeah,
From what Callahan is saying, I don't think that's the way they're viewing it.
That's a lot of patience. Well, I wish my mama had that with me when I was acting up as a kid.
Ricky in Murfreesboro, 615-737-1045. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, guys. I think you're right about him being on that leash, but, Big Slay mentioned last night on 3HL that he didn't think it was a leash. He said thought it was a shock collar. And, if it's a shock collar, I think it may be about medium right now. But, you got a week this week where you got a bye week. You got some time to work with Will and do some things. And we've heard him talk about, he needed to rewire his thinking. The Indy game, I think, is going to tell us a lot after Callahan's had a bye week to work with him. And I would ask, Ramon, you've been in this situation. How far do you go with this, trying to back him before you risk starting to lose the locker room? I think that's another piece of it that they got to think about. And then I got to ask Ramon, being a Cowboys fan out here living in Tennessee, man, you've been in these games that are going to happen Sunday night if they're in Pittsburgh. What's that Dallas-Pittsburgh game going to be like Sunday night?
Historically, there's a lot of history in that series in general. That's going to be a wild, wild game right there. There's no other way around it. Hopefully it's a good show on Sunday Night Football.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thanks, Ricky.
Appreciate the call. Let's get one more in here quickly. Let's go to Michael in Clarksville, who is up next. Hey, Michael.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Good morning.
Here's my opinion on the whole Will Levis situation. Now, as much of a Titans fan as I am, I'm also a very realistic fan. And if the coach is honestly giving this kid a chance to see what he can do, there's no way in the world they're going to deviate from him until at least halfway through the next season, if not the end of next season. And here's why. He actually hasn't even played a full season under a system yet. He had Mike Vrabel, and now he's got this new head coach. We've got a brand new head coach. We've got a new offensive coordinator. We've got a new offensive system. We've got pretty much a brand new offensive line that's got at least one or two rookies on it. So if we're going to seriously find out what this kid's capable of doing, even though he's making some crazy, crazy mistakes this year, which technically is his sophomore slump since this is his second year, if we're going to really see what this kid is capable of, whether he has a bad season or a good season, we're going to need to wait at least until the middle of next year, realistically, to find out if he's going to be good enough or not for us to keep. And then by then, the coach can come in and be like, you know what? If they get rid of him through the middle of next season, then we know that he's not going to be our quarterback, and they're going to have to go after somebody else.
Thank you, Michael. I don't agree that the leash is that long, but I do think that's more realistic than him being benched within the next 2 weeks.
But it's splitting hairs on one thing that both of the callers said. One is he hadn't played a full 17 games, and the other one is he's in a sophomore slump. Which one are we considering Will Levis to be in right now?
I hate the idea that Levis is, quote-unquote, still a rookie. Because he's had two full off seasons.
He's had a whole off season this year.
Yeah.
His offense was catered to him so far.
And that's the thing. He's had two different offenses. Yeah, we get that. And he's had to learn two different things. But at the same time, that's what's expected. Like, the quarterback is the hardest position to play for many reasons, because there is a lot that goes into it with the studying and the film time and everything. So he knows what he's in for. He's always known what he was in for. And I just think there's just been so much going backwards. I guess I just don't understand that. I see in a new system having some hiccups, but it's almost like, I still will say this, I think it's still a mind thing. I think it's still more so that than anything.
Ronnie on Facebook says, Malik didn't get all that time. Shaking my head.
He wasn't your franchise quarterback.
It never was. Malik Willis was a project that was not improving either, but he also wasn't essentially a first-round pick. Will Levis was a second-round pick that was basically kind of a first-round pick.
All right, tell the whole truth right there,
Yeah, those just are not the same situations.
Because guess what happened when Jordan Love got healthy? Jordan Love's back to start in Green Bay.
Yeah, there was never... Malik Willis has never had a game the way Will did against the Falcons last year either. He's showing us more flashes.
It's very true.
So he gets more time because he's showing you flashes.
Are these same people mad at Green Bay for not starting Malik is all I want to know.
No chance.
And I was like, I'd love to hear that conversation, just if it does continue, though, to go that path.
Coming up next, voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, will join us. Talking Titans next.
If you want an engagement ring that she will be proud to wear, there's only one place to go, and that's Genesis Diamonds. Genesis has cornered the market on all the world-class designers. These New York and Los Angeles-based designers are the best of the best. Every store wants them, but few stores make the cut. Genesis made the cut and has all luxury brands, okay? All the ones women are asking for. So don't settle. Get her a ring of her dreams at Genesis. And don't think you'll pay more either. Genesis has complete ready-to-wear designer rings as low as $1,900. And of course, no jeweler can beat the price of a Genesis diamond. Whether you want a natural diamond or lab-grown diamonds, Genesis has the guaranteed best prices and the highest quality. And only Genesis gives you a 120% diamond upgrade guarantee plus free service for life. All this with no commission salespeople, so there's no pressure ever to buy. Nobody delivers for you like Genesis when it comes to quality, value, selection, warranties, or simply customer care. Get the deal you deserve on your diamond at Genesis Diamonds, and now with the expanded selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, all the hard ones to find too. So check them out. Genesis Diamonds. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Wednesday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, joined when we hear the Sopranos music by the VOTT, voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, on Twitter at TENN Voice. Mike, how are you? Good morning.
I'm fine, Will. Good morning.
Mike, out of the win against Miami, what encouraged you the most about this football team? What was the biggest positive you took away from Monday's win?
They came into the game feeling like they could punch Miami in the mouth and win the game, and that's what they went and did. The strategy was not to further offensive philosophy or develop different scheme concepts or split the atom or experiment with any sort of technical thing. It was, let's go win this game in the oldest way we know to win a game, and that's be more physical up front, bloody our nose, bloody their nose, and win. And that's exactly what they did. And I think there was a tremendous amount of pride in that yesterday within Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, is that everybody felt like they went out and played a football game. They were a good sore, that good sore that you feel when you've done something positive, and they did it. And so now they move on to the next thing. There are times for expansion of the offense. There are times for more schemes. There are times for continued development. But at a certain point, it's just about going out and hitting somebody. And the Titans out-hit the Dolphins on Monday night. That's why they won the game.
Mike, we talk a lot about week 5 bye weeks when the schedule drops. I don't think there's ever been a week 5 bye that has come at a better time for a team that has a banged-up quarterback and has a chance to reset off of a big win. Bryan Callahan says yesterday, we're going to find out everything about Will Levis that we can. What is your perspective on how this staff, how this organization moves forward with Will, knowing as well that they've got a capable option in Mason Rudolph, who in a pinch can come into a game and do the job he did on Monday night?
Mason's a good backup quarterback, and that's what he was brought in to be. Will's the starter. The organization, top to bottom, is behind Will Levis. Will has an upside that is fantastic, and everybody is going to find out if they can get there. In doing Bryan's TV show, not last night, but last week, we looked at 2 plays on the first drive in the game against Green Bay, and he made 2 just remarkable throws, from the strength of his arm to placement. And in that moment, in watching that, you understand why they are betting on him being able to take the next step. There are a lot of things about Will that are phenomenally positive. He's well-liked. He's incredibly smart. He's a hard worker. He's committed to the team. He's committed to the game. All that's great. But he's got some gifts that you don't find every single day. And the gifts are what give a coach like Bryan Callahan the feeling that if we can continue to work through all of it and get to that point, that we have something very special. The other point of it, too, is that when you consider he was a second-round pick, you're not having to pay him a ton of money. Will Bowling, if this works, if he does become that ceiling guy that you hope he can be, then you're good for 10 years. You're in the mix for 10 years because you have been in a position that you are ahead of the salary cap because of who he is and because of his talent and because of the circumstances of what this league is. He is absolutely worth it. And I think the justification in large part comes from the talent portion of it, if you just want to keep it there and just be totally pragmatic. But the understanding of the human being and what he's willing to put into it to get there is another part of it that really excites you. Will Levis is a good guy. And the guys since that. Not every good football player, not every good quarterback is a good guy. You don't necessarily have to be, but you're going to take a chance on that person if they're willing to do what he's willing to do to meet you halfway and get there. Long answer to your question, but what he was telling you yesterday, and the question was well asked in the press conference, well asked, and I think he answered it really, really well. He told you the absolute truth. And I'm just trying to further amplify that from what I know about how the entire organization feels about Will Levis.
Voice of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Keith, with us this morning. Mike, when it comes down to Bryan Callahan getting behind Will Levis, I have to ask you this. Is he one of the most patient coaches that you've been around? Because, again, you mentioned the great things that Will Levis has and has done and can do. But the ability to not have those bad moments, like another interception to a defensive lineman, or being safe with his body as far as how he chooses to dive. And I love the fact he went for the first down and got it. But taking care of his body as a quarterback is a difference between just a regular football player. Is he one of the more patient guys you've met?
I think he's even. Is what I sense in him more than anything else. I can't say, I like Bryan Callahan very much, and I really enjoy working with him, and I think he's going to continue to develop as a head coach. I think he's got what it takes. I think at this moment in time, if Titans Nation wants one thing to be excited about, if you want to say what's one thing that I should bet the farm on, so to speak, it's Bryan Callahan. I think he's going to be a fabulous head coach, and I think he's going to be a very successful head coach. I don't know his level of patience, Ramon. I can't speak to that because I haven't known him long enough, just trying to be fair.
Yeah.
But what I have seen is the level nature in him and how he's dealt with Will and how they've broken things down positively and negatively. Many people are taking his reaction in the Jets game as a man who was not patient. And I get it. I saw it. We saw it. We can lip read. We get it. This guy's a competitor. His quarterback's a competitor, which is what you saw on Monday night for an 0-3 team. He's going for a first down because he knew this team desperately needed to win. That's Will. That's what you like about Will. I like the fire in Bryan as well. But at the same time, I think Bryan's sort of factory settings come with even keel. And from that standpoint, I think he understands what this process is for a quarterback, having done it with Joe Burrow, having seen it in his past life with a Matthew Stafford, and being with a veteran. Matthew was more of a veteran when he got him, so was Peyton Manning. He understands this entire process. And so I think he will take him through the year and work him through every step, every week, the same way. I think they will break things down, whether Will has a bad game or whether Will throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think that's the process that they will go through this entire season. Things can change. I get that. Circumstances can change. People can change. There's no predictability except for just those things that you've seen. And through some very dark times in September, Bryan Callahan hasn't changed. He's been the same guy. And that's why I think they won the ball game Monday night, and that's why I think his process with Will Levis will stay the entire year.
Sure. The contributions of the young guys, man, and I just want to start with Jarvis Brownlee Jr., not even to Vondre. How important has that been to this restructuring, rebuilding of this franchise also, Mike?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. You think about, you got a 5th-round corner, but that's what you've seen Kansas City do. They've rebuilt the secondary twice, and they're virtually all day 3 guys. Guess what L'Jarius Sneed was? He was right at the end of the 4th round. He was essentially the same pick as this guy. And, you can find those traits. and you can pull out those traits. I mean, would Jarvis work in every system? I don't know. I'm not a secondary coach, but I know he sure does work in this system. Yeah. And this is what they were looking for. This was a lot of what Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon went through when they talked about profile tapes, getting with the coaching staff and saying, what do you look for in a corner? This is what you look for. This is what you traded for in LeJarius Sneed, the type of player. And this is what you drafted in Jarvis Brownlee. And that's the thing about the draft is, I mean, not every great player goes in the first round. You know, it doesn't happen. And you find people who fit you, who want it like you want it. And sometimes you also find guys who are just grown up enough to finally handle it. Not everybody handles college at 18 great. Not everybody, not everybody handles their football career well through college. Sometimes guys get better when they get into the pros because they don't have to go to school anymore. And that's what you find a lot of times in day 3 is some guys who are just ready to go play. I think Jarvis is that guy.
Voice of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Keith, joining us today on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Mike, after a performance that I know the defense was not happy about against Green Bay, what did you learn about this defense and how they were able to bounce back on Monday night and fix a lot of those issues?
They can take coaching. And I think that's the big thing I learned, Kayla, is they went out and, I mean, the plan was laid out for them, to a T. They understood what the challenge was, and they played it all night long. And they got rewarded a couple of times with overthrows, but it's funny how you get rewarded with overthrows when you're playing well. Things work out for you. And that's what happened on Monday night is they really played consistent. They made everything hard. And, this is the Baltimore defense. And what we saw from Miami is the Baltimore defense. This is the style of play. I had a conversation with Mike Heimerdinger one time. Pat Ryan was my color commentator at the time, and he said, hey, would you go ask Dinger what Baltimore does? This was 2000. Are they doing anything schematically? So I stopped Mike after practice, and I said, Mike, what does Baltimore do schematically? And he started laughing. He said, not much. He said, but they are always where they're supposed to be, and they make everything hard. Kayla, you make a first down, super duper. Try to do it again. You make 2 or 3 first downs, that's great. You get into the red zone, glad you were able to do that. Now we're going to make you kick a field goal. I mean, everything is hard. It's like you're pounding your head against a wall. That's what the Titans did on Monday night. Everything was hard. And if they keep doing that, the big plays will come, just like they come for Baltimore in that defense every single year.
Mike, I know on Monday we had a lot of callers calling in talking about Derrick Henry's big game, and good for Derrick Henry to be able to do that in Baltimore. But I think people need to remember too, and you can just talk about this, Mike, is these two backs are seemingly working very well in this Bryan Callahan system. And I think we saw just a lot of that in general on Monday Night Football.
You did. And I'm happy that Derrick is having success. I'm not surprised. Derrick still had it, said it at the time. He can still play. Derrick is a very specific style of back that works in that offense because their quarterback is a very specific style quarterback who's going to be the focal point of the offense. He may be the best athlete in the league. And so Derrick, in his role now, is in the perfect place for Derrick. We changed concepts. We're in the process of changing. And we're going to use 2 guys. And Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are similar backs that do slightly different things, but we like to use them together. Our chess pieces needed to change in this system. It was just an evolution. And these guys are doing a whale of a job for us. In the first half, it looked like Tajay would have the big night rushing, and then Tony breaks the 41-yard run. And you're going to say, and Tajay in the last game caught 4 passes for 54 yards. Tony's stats are better right now, but I think anybody who's listening to your show right now feels like Tajay is one of the best players on the team, and he's going to be just fine. There are going to be numbers for him. We just have 2 good football players there. And in this system, as we continue to see the development of it, there will be more understanding of why they are the perfect fit. Sometimes 2 things can be true. Derrick Henry is still true, and our backs are still true. And that's what this is right now. So I get it. It's hard to watch him in another uniform, but taking the emotion out, you understand that this is best for all parties concerned.
Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, our guest this morning, typically on Fridays with a bye week and a Monday, a different schedule for us this week. Joining us today, Mike, we really appreciate you making time for us. Enjoy the bye week and the off weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. See you soon.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Mike.
Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. Is he aware that Jamal Adams called you OG, Ramon? Has that been put on his desk yet?
I don't think I told Mike.
I was tempted to tell him and just say, just so you know,
Should have.
you might need to break up a fight.
Right? You do have the size advantage on Jamal. I'll just say that.
I do, but he's got quickness.
That's
Yeah,
true.
He's got quickness.
He is feisty.
So,
He is still blitz boy.
yeah, he
Yeah,
still
yeah.
is that, man. Super chill dude, though, from what I've seen
he's
on the
cool.
sideline. Yeah.
A lot of you wanting to react to the Will Levis, Mason Rudolph conversation, still to what Mike Keith said. We'll open up the phone lines for you for a few minutes when we come back. 615-737-1045. Rhett Bryan coming up at 9 for his perspective as well. Your chance to react is next. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Reacting to Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, what Mike Keith told us at 615-737-1045. Guys, you never know who's listening to The Zone.
Too right.
Calling in this morning, one of my favorite singers, actually, Ernest, on the lines with us this morning, wanting to react to Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Ernest, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, you know what? I'm driving in this morning. I haven't listened to The Zone in so long. Me and my dad used to listen to it all the time in the truck together. I tuned in. We're talking Titans football, and I just want to give my 2 cents as a Nashville native, day one Titans fan.
I love it.
I'm riding with Levis. I think that Mason Rudolph filled in and did a great job. We got a win the other night. It was an ugly football game, but a win's a win. But you know what? Other than a couple of instances, literally probably a combined 20 seconds in the last 3 weeks, we've been a really good football team. We had the Bears going into the first half football, and as a Titans fan, we love to see it. And the other side of that coin, as a Titans fan, took the air out of us in the second half with just a couple of moments. But I still think Will Levis is the guy. I'm going to saddle up to that. He's a beast, like a physical specimen, and I do think that he's a great quarterback. I think we got a lot of good pieces. Our defense really looked great the other night. And, in classic fashion, it might just be taking us a little while to get our cylinders firing. But as you guys know, it's when we get hot that matters. When teams get hot, it matters. And I think we still got it in us to really pull something out this year. That's what I think.
I love it. That's good perspective.
Good stuff,
Ernest, you literally probably 2 or 3 of your songs will be in the top 10 of my Spotify Wrapped or Apple Music replay. These guys know I kind of geeked out. I saw you call in. I was like,
he was excited.
I literally just saw you play in Neyland with Morgan and all that stuff, and Nashville guy. And as another local, it's cool to see people who embrace Nashville the way that you have, man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little starstruck this morning. This is pretty cool for me.
But dude, and I'm glad I had the hotline number. I remember Buck gave it to me about a year ago, and I heard y'all talking. I heard y'all talking. I was like, I'm gonna see if this number still works. And you know what, too? I'm biased. Levis and DeAndre came to my cookout this past year. We had a crawfish broil, and I had several of the Titans there. And I think that the team chemistry is good. I think those guys love Will. I know that Will loves the team. I know he loves Nashville. Let's get him healthy. I'm glad we got a bye week. I think he's going to come in, and I see him getting the start. He's still our starting quarterback. That's what I think. I think he's getting the ball when we come back. I think this little break is going to be good for everybody. Let's get our feet back under us, go in with a win next week, and play Titans football the right way and come get some dubs.
Ernest, real quick, 2 things. Number one, if you have a vehicle that I think you have, if you hold the button where 1045 is shown,
oh my gosh,
and you can save it as one of your favorites so that you don't have to go that long without listening. Is that cool?
All right, done.
Good
It's saved.
advice.
All right, we logged in. All right.
love it.
The other thing is this. Just had to go ahead and do some official stuff first.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
The other thing is this. All right. If he does have a multiple turnover game again, how loyal are you? Because that's what we're really speaking of right now when it comes to Coach Callahan. You've declared your loyalty to him, and others have too. And I think most are with you. Like, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Nobody loses their job because of injury, right? It's just like if with me, if I got an injury, I'm going back in when I'm healthy. And so it's his. Where do you draw the line as far as saying
on a multiple turnover game? Look, as a coach's son, I totally understand having to make changes and adjustments to whether it be switch up momentum or just try something new, try different pieces. So I think that we all as a fan base would probably come to the same conclusion if that time comes. But I have faith that there's going to be a couple adjustments made. I think that he might, as far as the scrambling and throwing the ball away goes, I would like to say that he's done doing that for good. I think that I feel like we got that out of our system. Yeah. I'm not gonna say one interception, pull him out of the game, and put Rudolph back in. I think those little what you would call knucklehead moments I think we got those out of the system. That's me being an optimistic Titans fan who was at the first game ever at Adelphia Coliseum. That's what I think. And you know what, dude? We can still pull out 15-win season. So watch it happen.
Hey,
I love
He's
it.
calling it. Ernest is
he
calling
is
it
legit
right now.
Nashville because at Neyland Stadium, the guy was wearing a David Lipscomb baseball jersey with Morgan Wallen.
That's
as authentic. I was like, that's a David Lipscomb jersey. Anyway, Ernest,
a
man.
David Lipscomb jersey, not a Lipscomb Academy jersey.
Exactly. Man, Ernest, thank you for calling in, man. We appreciate you. And hey, you've got our number. You got the hotline, and hit us up anytime,
He's
man.
also
We
saved
appreciate
the
it.
station on his radio
That's right.
dial.
That's it. Tighten up, baby.
I love it.
Thanks,
Ernest. That's amazing.
There you go. I mean, to talk about true Titans fan.
That's awesome.
Holy smokes.
He's an optimist.
Yeah, I honestly was wondering would it switch to just Lipscomb because when I first got in here, it
Of
was
course he would go
David
on this
Lipscomb.
angle.
No, I mean I'm going with what interests me here. Okay, I like baseball jerseys. Y'all know that.
Of course, you do.
Yeah, and
You totally do.
Like you got to notify people when you're
Right.
dropping a name.
So
all right.
sick.
David
I'm geeking.
Like if you went from
That's
Jackson Smith
crazy.
and Jigba to just Jackson Smith, like when do we need to be notified of
Yeah, we
that?
do.
I've literally told so many friends recently because I've been in a good big country kick going to the Morgan Wallen concert, and it's like, man, Ernest is awesome. Like I've been listening to his music so much in the last 3 or 4 months. Flower shops. Oh,
I just love it
that's
because
only in Nashville, man.
I love it because original Nashville.
Yes.
And I
Thank you.
moved here 8 years ago, so I'm not original. But I do give a lot of props to the original Nashville people and the musicians that are original
So
Nashville.
cool.
That
Such a
that
melting
is
pot.
really cool.
Yeah, such a melting pot.
Made
here.
my day.
I know he did. All right, man. What? Come on, man. Clean up
I know
over
that.
there.
Yeah.
Will's leaving the show. He's not going to be here the rest of the show.
No, man,
That's
it's not
too
going to
much.
get better than that. That was so cool.
If you see him leave the studio, just know the job is done. All right.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
song, his song, Ernest's song with Post Malone, "Devil I've Been," will be my number one song this year, and it won't even be close. It's already one of my favorite songs in the last 5 years. So anyway,
Well, now
all
we
right,
just
enough
have to
about me.
bump back in at some point with our
Yeah,
songs.
we got to at some point.
From a musician to a guy who knows music and football as well as anybody. Coming up next, Rhett Bryan joins us in studio after this.
Right.
NFL Week 5 is here, and you can start with a chance to win big on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Let's say you're new to FanDuel. All you got to do is get started. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets. That's going to be guaranteed, and all it takes is you to place your first bet of $5. That's right, just $5 and you can get started. How about some Thursday night football action that's coming up tomorrow night? You could build a single game prop. It's the Buccaneers, and they are at the Atlanta Falcons. So Baker Mayfield, he's playing good football right now. Maybe take him in over passing yards. Drake London, take him in over receiving yards. And how about Bijan Robinson for an anytime touchdown? All you got to do, visit FanDuel.com/Kayla. That's FanDuel.com/KAYLA to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Remember, must be 21 years and older and present in Tennessee to bet. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire in 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
What's going on? 9 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Tennessee Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons said he suffered a Tommy John-like injury to his left elbow. The injury caused Simmons to miss the Titans' 31-12 win over the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. Simmons told trainers he felt like he could play on Friday, but was held out of practice. His plan to come back in Week 6 when the Titans host the Colts at Nissan Stadium. Raiders star wide receiver Davante Adams informed the team that he would prefer to be traded. Las Vegas informed other teams that they would consider trading the wide receiver for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills is going to be suspended 4 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. As it was announced yesterday, Miller is eligible for reinstatement on October 28th following the Bills' Week 8 game against the Seattle Seahawks. And in former Titans news, Caleb Farley signing with the Panthers on their practice squad. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes on into the fourth and final hour, the fourth quarter of the program this morning. Middle of your week, and big energy still left for 60 minutes. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh makes the show happen. Rhett Bryan, the executive producer of Titans Radio, is in studio recapping a W on Monday Night Football in Miami against the Dolphins. Rhett, there's just something about Miami on a Monday. How are you?
There is something about getting a win because I'm pretty tired, but I'm running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, this is good. And look, was it beautiful? No, but there's nothing ugly about a win.
That's right.
A win is a win is a win.
Especially a 30-point plus win. Hey,
Did you feel like they were adamant about that last score?
I do.
I did.
When it got to where they were in the situation,
Yeah.
And I said it in postgame to Mike. So Tony Pollard's 24th touch with 24 seconds to go got them over 30 for the first time in 1,002 days.
Look at that.
Crazy.
That's detail right there.
But yeah, they just needed to find a way to do it, and they did it.
Before we get into the Titans discussion, there's some news from Adam Schefter a couple minutes ago.
Breaking
teams
news.
High on Davante Adams' wish list of places to land. Do we have any guesses? One of them obvious, one of them not obvious.
I would say Kansas City would be one.
That is not one of them.
Is the Jets the obvious one?
The Jets is the obvious one.
Because of Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Nope.
I mean, Rhett.
You just wanted a reason to say nobody wants to go to Cleveland. That was like when you're a kid in middle school and you make anti-jokes to be funny. That was an anti-answer.
They do try to get everybody and ruin them,
That's
but
what
I mean,
I'm saying. New Orleans.
Yeah.
New Orleans is the other answer.
Okay.
That surprises me a little bit.
But I mean, that's like saying, do you want to go to Disney World or you want to go to Big Daddy's Fun Park? like, where is that? What is
me?
I think part of it would have to do with the Derek Carr connection, right? Because that's why he wanted to go to Oakland or Las Vegas in the first place.
Yeah, that made see
Fresno State.
Knowing the quarterback
Bert
a little.
is the voice of reason.
Ball knower Bert. At the controls as always.
And tell me about Big Daddy's Fun Park. What's going on here? I'm gonna be honest with you. That sounds a whole lot more fun than just going to Disney right now. All right.
That's just some guy down the road with an inflatable pool and a hose. There's nothing wrong with that either. That can cool you off on a hot day too.
Y'all come on in, have fun.
As long as he got coolers and ice, I think we can make the rest of the fun ourselves.
It's just like sometimes in a small town, the local zoo is just the guy in town with the most animals. Yeah, that's the same thing.
I don't have free parking or free sunscreen, but come on in.
Usually I just call that guy Dad.
People are ridiculous.
Oh, Bobby Dubs back there.
I love it. It is incredible. In this building, I know in the Titans building, they feel the same way. In the locker room, how much one win does change the mindset and change the demeanor. And Rhett, you know it as well as anybody, having been around this team for the amount of games, the amount of seasons that you've seen. I mean, it's just, there's a weight off their shoulders in a couple of different contexts and some bad streaks that all kind of ended at the same time on Monday. Having that to take into the bye week feels potentially significant for this team right now.
It absolutely does. You know, there's a saying, I think, winning takes care of 98% of the things.
Yes, sir.
Listen, that may not be exactly the case with the Titans right now because they do have some things to work on, but it took care of a lot of things. And I'll answer the question by saying this. Jacksonville is on, Thursday Night Football tomorrow night? And they're 0-4.
Yep.
Love that.
And even the difference in 1-3 and 0-4. Wow. Because, I mean, did you see Doug Peterson's press conference on Monday?
It's not pretty.
No.
The reports out of there, the locker room was starting to turn on old Doug maybe a little bit.
Yeah, there's talk about the play calling. And anyway, it's, yeah. So what I say is just you don't have to look very far to go, okay, that's where we could be. I'm glad we're here. We should be over here. Yeah. But, yeah, keep moving.
Jags have Indy on Sunday.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We got Bucks Falcons tomorrow.
Yeah, Atlanta.
That's right.
But the funny thing about that, I saw somebody make this point yesterday on social media that it's kind of a win-win Sunday with Jags and Colts because if the Colts lose and give the Jags their first win, that's hilarious. But if the Jags are 0-5, equally hilarious. So as long as they don't tie.
And the Jags have already lost, one or two division games?
Jags have lost to Houston and, yeah, I think just Houston.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Houston
Colts are down. Hold up.
The Colts have played.
Go ahead. Continue to talk.
Colts have also lost to Houston.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, I love it.
Yeah.
Either way, that one's a positive. Rhett, when you look at this game Monday night, though, what specifically did you like the most? What was the significant positive development for you coming out of this one?
I look at the defense first because the defense came off of a game that they'd like to have different play in terms of spot tackling, better performance, and they've been good. But the defense really did the job because, the pre-snap motion that this Dolphins offense shows is just all those guys running around like the track team that they are. And you had to figure with them being with Tyler Huntley, who's essentially the third quarterback, that the timing wasn't going to be right and that there could be penalties because they've been penalized a lot for that stuff. Was it 5 penalties in the second half for that kind of stuff? So there's some help that they got already. But when I think about there's no Jeffrey Simmons playing, Keandre Coburn goes down early, so they're down to 4 defensive linemen. And what does T'Vondre Sweat do? Puts on a show. I mean, it's there. 6 tackles, 2 for loss. And Pro Football Focus agrees, too, because in Week 4, he was the highest-rated interior defensive lineman in Week 4 and the highest-rated rookie by them, regardless of position or side of ball you play on in Week 4.
Yeah, and right now he's top 7 in the entire league in interior defensive linemen, which is crazy PFF, if you want to go by the rankings of PFF. I think about the investment that the Titans have made in him and the time and the care that was to do all that in choosing to draft him, even despite what happened in the offseason. And he has taken all of that to heart because it's not just Rand Carthon. It's not just Bryan Callahan. Anthony Robinson, the assistant general manager. I mean, they have a special relationship with this guy. And he has certainly taken those things to heart. And Tracy Rocker, his line coach, deserves all the credit in the world because this guy can be a wrecker. He can be a game wrecker. I mean, just going back and seeing
the way he was able to swim in there and stop Devin Achane.
Yeah, man.
That's a lot of, against track guy. That's amazing. So just to see that. And then the other thing, staying on the defense and another rookie, his fellow teammate, Jarvis Brownlee, 5th round pick, first career start. And when you're talking about the, dream wish list, Monday Night Football, check. Hometown, 5 minutes away, check.
Family members,
right?
Check.
All of that. And what did he do? Came in there and showed out. So Pro Football Focus credited Jarvis Brownlee with allowing 3 receptions on 5 targets for 9 yards. And so he played 50 snaps, accounting for 83% of all the Titans' defensive plays. Pro Football Focus assigned 27 of those snaps as coverage snaps. He made 4 tackles, did not miss a tackle, credited with 3 stops, scored a coverage grade of almost 80 and an overall defensive grade of 82.3, 5th highest on the entire team.
Pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
For a rookie.
And that's the thing. He said to us in the locker room last week, he said, the rookie stuff is over. Like, I have to step forward now. I have to treat this, not that I haven't treated anything up until this point seriously, but it's the time for the rookie talk is over. I've got to go produce. And he's got a lot of good help in that room with him and certainly coaching staff and all of those things. But moment never seemed like it was too big for him. Like he is just as cool as a cucumber.
He has always said like he loves LeJerry Sneed. He kind of models how he is as a cornerback after him. And I could see that a little.
And, you could do worse to try to emulate and model after.
Exactly.
Good grief.
And he's on your team. He's right next door to your locker, right?
And the way that guy played the other night, too.
Solid.
I just think about those things. And all 3 phases had their moments of adversity. Not as much on the defense, but they had a couple of explosive plays they gave up here and there. But special teams had their issues, but Nick Folk was money. And then the offense, despite what happened with Will Levis early on, they, played control football, held the ball for almost 35 minutes, won the turnover battle, and won it.
Coming up, more Titans discussion with Rhett. Bryan, we'll get to Brandon in Nashville. Has been waiting to get his thoughts on the team as well. 615-737-1045. And we will bring Rhett into the quarterback discussion that we have been having, you have been having, both on the station and probably to your friends and coworkers as well. More with Rhett after this on 1045 The Zone.
And tell me about Big Daddy's Fun Park.
Sometimes good people go through hard times and they need a little help getting back on their feet, or in this case, getting a roof back over their heads. That's where North Point Roofing Systems is here to give you that peace of mind, Ramon.
100%, man. Is that you or someone you know? Well, here's the thing. Robert just told you. Robert, it's official. Now I call him Robert, all right? But North Point Roofing System understands life challenges and want to give one lucky listener a brand new roof just by visiting 1045thezone.com to register. Tell us why you or someone you know is the most deserving. We know the storm's just coming through, a lot of rain. Just issues pop up in those moments when we have big weather events. So simply go to 1045 The Zone and register for a free roof for you or someone you know.
Wednesday morning continues on RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Rhett, Bryan in studio for the fourth quarter of the show. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, rocking right along. Before we talk quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph, Will Levis, and the whole situation. Brandon is in Nashville, been waiting patiently to chime in on the Titans this morning. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, how are y'all this morning?
Good.
Brandon.
Hey, so I got a question about Denard Wilson. If for some reason we decide that we stay in first place with our defense, is there still a likelihood that if offered a head coaching position that Denard Wilson could leave?
Thank you, Brandon. I think that's always a possibility if they're able to sustain having the number one defense in the league. And I mean, going through the accelerator program he did over the offseason and dealing with owners and talking with executives in the league, I think Denard Wilson is going to be a head coach sooner rather than later. Whether it's this offseason, I have no idea.
Yeah, and we're going to see, I think the question can probably best be answered by something we don't know yet, but what does the coaching carousel openings look like? Are they looking to hire a defensive-minded coach? Are they looking to hire? Because, and I'll say this, D'Amico Ryans could have started a trend in hiring a younger defensive-minded coach. Sure. Because, the Texans are doing well. Denard is very well respected in circles, especially the ones that matter as it pertains to that question. I firmly believe he will be a head coach sooner than later. When? We'll see. Could be 2025. We'll see.
And he could be the Brian Callahan's Matt LaFleur. Sorry.
No. Absolutely. You're fine. And here's what I say. Looking at the success that Dan Quinn is having right now also leads to that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And also with the teams that we were just talking about that might have hot seat situations, Jacksonville, going from an offensive guy to a defensive guy. Her coaching hires usually go opposite.
Right.
If Dallas doesn't get it figured out also with their situation at head coach, right, with McCarthy, does he become a candidate for Dallas Cowboys as a defensive-minded head coach moving forward too? Because they think they got the goods on defense.
And the Jets may flip if Robert Saleh is...
Yeah. Right. So, the conversation of his aspirations, I think most dudes who interview for a head coaching job eventually want it, and he has interviewed for it.
For sure. Rhett, the quarterback situation here, according to the head coach, is not a quarterback controversy today. But anytime a backup quarterback comes in, performs well, especially the circumstances around this team right now and the mistakes Will Levis has made, fans are going to flock towards the new option. It's just the way we work, especially when Levis has thrown some of the picks that he has. Where are you at with the give and take between learning what you have in Will Levis and Bryan Callahan saying we're going to find out everything about Will that we can, while also balancing, hey, this roster might be good enough to compete in a division that might not be as good as we originally thought that it would be?
So, first of all, I think Bryan Callahan was being transparent as he has been in his tenure so far and done a very nice job of doing that. You clearly hear his philosophy of, hey, not going to lose your job due to injury unless you're unable to continue to go. And so we'll see when October 13th comes around and the Colts come to town and what his health situation is. I believe he will be the starter when he is healthy and ready to get back in there. I think the bigger question is, if there continues to be mistakes, when does that change? And that's a valid question. Just because Mason Rudolph came in and did a very nice job of keeping that thing in the middle of the road doesn't mean that, everything's going to switch and flip just as quickly as fans might like it to. But yeah, I don't think there's a quarterback controversy at all. I've never thought about that. I think having Mason Rudolph in here is an insurance policy if, things don't go correctly, but you got to have a good backup to begin with, because very rarely do quarterbacks end up playing the entire season. And at some point, you're going to need a guy for a game or two.
We're speaking about what Miami got going on and how flagrant it was on their coaching staff and management to not have a sustainable backup behind Tua, considering his injury history too.
You know, so you got to have a strong guy behind you. Speaking of which, too, I said this name in the chat like 5 times in my head to make sure it's not a gotcha name. You know what I'm saying? Like Seymour Butts or something, okay?
You mean like Storm Duck?
925, Bert.
Yeah.
Like Storm Duck?
Yeah,
right?
like that's a real name. But Frank G. Trucks asked the question, and I want to present it to you because we're speaking about this. Whatever happened to having a quarterback carry a clipboard for 2 years before they start? Rhett.
Well, I think in a perfect world, you'd love to have that, but this is a win-now league.
Win-now league.
And listen, I know I'm probably a broken record, but this is a league of the haves and the have-nots. You either have one or you don't.
Yeah.
And there may be even a third category of you think you have one. And I think that's just why the position of the quarterback is so different. We see it every April and every draft. Somebody will, grab a quarterback a little higher than others. I mean, look, as it pertains to the 2024 class, it looks like Jaden Daniels is the pick of the litter.
Yes, right.
I mean, he's doing a great job, but it's all about fit, scheme, and then all the other tangibles that come into place with this. But that used to be the thing, but that really changed really when free agency and the salary cap started more than anything because you couldn't afford to keep that. And used to a guy, he'd play for his whole career for one team unless, there was a trade at the end of his career or whatever. Because there's you see all those pictures of, guys that are superstars and Hall of Famers. You're like, oh gosh, I forgot he played for, nobody remembers Joe Namath played for the Rams at the end of his career. Nobody remembers, there's a long list of those things. And there are the rare exceptions. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is really the last main exception to this because he was waiting behind Brett Favre. And then, Jordan Love, same kind of thing behind Aaron Rodgers. It's just, where are you drafting? How are you drafting? And I think that's the other part of it, too, is GMs nowadays, for the most part, are drafting quarterbacks about every 3 years.
I wonder when the gas was thrown onto this acceleration process. I want to put a number in a year on it. I think it was the 04 class that pushed the envelope on this one. The year before Carson, was it Carson? Jesus, had a second ago. Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
He was the number 1 overall pick. And then the year after that, you had the 04 classmen, Eli, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and then you went to J.P. Lossman. Like those first 3 being the ones that really starting early. They created the controversy with Eli. And I know it was one before then. What was it? Elway that didn't want to go play
for the Baltimore Colts.
But was that when the power shifted to the quarterbacks? And then, of course, you throw Stafford and Bradford in there with the amount of money that they got. Like, okay, we got to hit and we got to start playing them sooner because of the money. But I almost feel like this 04 class somewhat accelerated everything moving forward with the franchise quarterback of passers / Hall of Fame guys. We got to go find us this type of dude.
Sure.
Because before then, the top 10 picks were running backs, D ends, D tackles, linebackers. Like it wasn't this heavy of picking until that class, I feel like.
And now it's one of about 4 things. It's a quarterback, it's a top flight wide receiver, it's a pass rusher, and a corner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really those things more than anything. And as a byproduct of the question from the chat, Sam Darnold is a prime example of somebody who, go get a quarterback in the first round, and he's had his turn with 3 or 4 teams, and now he's finally in a place where he's doing well. And you saw a glimpse of that a couple of years ago when he was in Carolina. They started 4-0, he got hurt, and then that washed out. But for every Sam Darnold, there's 3 Josh Rosens. You know what I mean?
And Mitch Trubisky.
And that goes back to it goes back to that fascinating research that Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks did in the offseason leading up to the draft about where is the median line for starts in college for a quarterback.
Yep.
Because Mitch Trubisky's a great example. 11 starts. That's it. Anthony Richardson, same thing.
Yeah.
11 starts, 9 starts, whatever it was. And when you go back and look at the guys from that 04 class, over 40 starts for Eli, for Rivers, for Roethlisberger. That's 39.5 was where they said that was the line. And the only two out of the last 20 years of drafts that had less than those starts in college that are above average is Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody else is everybody else.
It's easier to find a dud than it is a stud.
And their definition of that was a successful first-round quarterback. And they went back to Peyton's draft, I think, in 98. And success measured broadly and generally by someone who, they might not have won a Super Bowl, but you had winning seasons. You probably made a playoff berth. Maybe you won a playoff game. And it wasn't a miss. It was, that solid for what you picked.
Right.
So this is a bye week for the Titans, and a much better feeling going into the bye week than last year. Coming out of, I believe it was the London game.
It was,
that
yes.
we went into the bye week, and that was not a great way to send the guys home back to the United States. But going into a bye week with a win, I think, is great for this team because they are still trying to figure themselves out, especially on offense. But out of that bye week, Rhett, you've got an AFC South opponent in the Colts. You've got the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions on the road. What do you feel like coming out of the gates they've got to be better on? And let's talk with the offense at least. Just knowing those three games are big ones coming out.
Well, then New England, who knows what they'll be
and
by the
they're
time you
after
get to that.
the Lions.
That's the next 4 games. I think the first place I'm looking at on offense is the obvious one in my mind, and that's third down percentage. Third down conversions have got to get better. I mean, they're not great at all. And some of that is because of, turnovers that led to scores that separated the score, and you ended up, having to try to play from behind and trying to make shot plays. But third down conversions have got to increase. That and the turnover ratio for that side of the ball. Those are the two things for me, I think, that are the big top of the checklist items. Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say, and for the defense at least, because the offense needs to do its part, like you said, in limiting turnovers. The defense got a weird one, clearly, on Monday Night Football to at least put them in the category of having a turnover this year. I believe that will come with time, Rhett. When it comes to the running backs, I think we saw some good balance in Monday night's game with Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. Was that just because they had, the mindset of we're going to run the ball because that's pretty much what we have to do? Or do you feel like they can find that balance more often?
I think it was more of a product of go get a win, and this is how we do it. We play keep away. Because you look at it, Tony Pollard, 22 for 88 and a score. Tajay, 15 for 39 and a score. So 22 touches, 15 touches, pretty even there.
Yeah.
And I think that's dependent on the opponent sometimes as well, because that's the other byproduct of learning how to win together with what you have, regardless of personnel circumstances, injuries, who you have, who you don't have, is trying to figure out, we can acquiesce some things. We can run it if we need to, or we can, because at the end of the day, it's only one football. And so, if you're worried about how you're going to distribute it, I think you're probably going to end up being on the wrong side of the scoreboard if you're starting to worry about who gets touches. But I do love the way that they ran the ball, and that was really one of the key elements in how they won this thing. I mean, they were almost 35 minutes time of possession, 40 runs for 142 yards and 2 scores. That's, if you haven't turned the ball over, there's an earmark you probably won.
Yeah. Rhett, I think it's interesting when you look at this draft class. Kayla and I were going down the list of recent Titans draft classes this morning in the first hour.
Okay.
And we mentioned this at one point in training camp, that when is the last time your top 2 picks looked A, healthy, and B, were thriving at this level this quickly? And I'm telling you what, I'm going back to 2005. Like, I'm looking back at Vince Young, Lindale White, to compare the last time that 2 picks, your top 2 picks, I should say, look this good this quickly. I'm coming up empty on any comparison here, because you even go to like Michael Ruse was starting early you look all the way back.
And he wasn't a top 2 pick.
Right. Your second pick, right? Like, meaning you're the top 2 picks that you make. And Pac-Man Jones was the first one that year. There was a lot around that. Like, this is a long-winded question to say. Like,
sorry, we got time. It's bye week.
Half the time, one of your top 2 picks isn't even healthy through the entire first month of the season. I don't remember a time where the first 2 picks that you made in a draft class have looked this good this quickly. Is that a fair assessment to make at this point?
Yeah, it is, because even going back to when I first started covering the team when they moved here, in the 98 draft, they had Kevin Dyson in the first round and they had Samari Roll in the second round.
46
and
overall.
Both of those guys were still kind of, cutting their teeth. 99 is when they really started paying dividends. But yeah, that's year 2 for them. We're talking rookie years here. I think the impressive thing about both of those guys, in J.C. Latham and in Tavondre Sweat, is how they have taken the coaching, they have taken the direction, and by all indications are learning, air quotes here, how to be a pro, because there's so much to this that is not just on the field or on the practice field. I really like their trajectory right now. And listen, this whole draft class is really contributing quite a bit. But yeah, in the history of the Titans, this is pretty doggone good.
Right. Because even in 2019, Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown are 2 studs that you got with your first 2 picks in that draft. Jeffrey Simmons didn't play until the end of October.
Yeah, he didn't play until week 6 or 7
against the Chargers,
which was amazing in its own.
A.J. Brown didn't have his first 100-yard receiving game till week 4.
Falcons
in Atlanta.
Yep,
that's correct. Because that's when he did the crack the safe, get out the safe, and give me my stacks celebration. I remember that one well.
Too.
That's awesome. It was awesome, man. It just takes time. I'll tell you one thing that also didn't happen on Monday night. Maybe he had a spell or 2. But the O-line was mainly quiet, right? Not any bad reports in. When they're bad, we got to talk about them. But when they're good, MPF had a great bounce back game, and I think he had a bad a couple of plays. But other than that, he was the 4th highest graded player this past weekend.
Well, there's a couple of things to that
offensively.
Yeah. Sure, and they absolutely should be mentioned for improving. I think the game plan had a lot to do with that. You're running the ball a lot. That had a lot to do with it. And I think the other is from the game plan that was set forth, it was going to be pretty conservative. And that even got more conservative as Mason Rudolph had to come in. And but they did their job because, Mason Rudolph still had how many pass attempts here?
He had, I believe it was 17 total.
Yeah. 9 of 17.
1 of 3 in the second half.
So 21 pass attempts in this and 1 quarterback sack allowed between the 2 quarterbacks. And the other part, looking at, I believe it was the NFL Pro Stats, had Peter Skoronski allowed 1 pressure in the 17 pass.
That's correct.
Yep.
Attempts.
Against Zach Sealer, who led the Dolphins in pressures with 10 coming into the game.
Guy had 10 quarterback sacks last year. He had a pick 6 of Will Levis last year on Monday Night Football in Week 14.
For sure.
So, yeah, they absolutely did better. And that's, listen, regardless of, and I'm not trying to take anything away by explaining what the game plan was and how that was different, and they needed a stabilizing thing there.
Right.
They and I think that's where Mason Rudolph, who has done this, your former teammate has done this longer than Will has, and that's what a backup quarterback is supposed to be, is kind of what Lloyd Cushenberry has done for that offensive line and being a stabilizing force. If the right side can continue to improve like that, then okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Because from center to left, pretty good so far.
Yeah. It's looking good. Some positivity going into the bye week. Much needed for the Titans to get the W Monday night. Rhett Bryan joins us Wednesdays here on the show, and we will be previewing a matchup with the certain AFC South rival next time we talk to you next week.
You mean the Indianapolis Colts?
There it is.
There it is. That sounded just like the recording.
The Indianapolis Colts.
That's right. We got the new one. We're ready to go. Rhett, thank you as always.
All right. Y'all have a great
Thanks,
week.
Rhett.
All right. Inky Johnson will join us next for Midweek Motivation Plus. See if we can track down Sam Pittman trying to say Iamaliava.
Indianapolis Colts.
It sounds a little bit like he's trying to say Nico Indianapolis. We've got that for you coming up next.
Hey, it's Kayla. You've recently talked about, you've heard me talk about, my hair growth journey. And not because I'm completely losing my hair, but if I look at front of my temples, I was seeing some loss there and decided to contact my friends at We Grow Hair. And they put me on a plan, great plan, because they make sure that every person who comes in there, they tailor their own plans to what they need. And I needed just a little bit of growth there. And I was able to achieve that. And I'm still continuing to go on my hair growth journey. Did you know you could lose up to 50% of your hair before you even notice it? We Grow Hair's PRP plate rich plasma treatments are excellent for seeing results within just a couple of months. They also have their FDA approved laser therapy. Super simple. You go in there, it's 30 minutes, you're out the door. That has helped as well. And I could already see a difference in my hair over the last few months. They also have their trademarked transplant procedure. That's going to give you 3 times more hair and in just one procedure if you're looking to get more out of that. For almost 30 years, they've been doing it. They've been Nashville's hair restoration premier medical clinic. You don't have to wait. You can get on your hair growth journey. WeGrowHair.com. You can schedule a free evaluation. All you got to do is call them 615-376-6010. That's 615-376-6010 or go to WeGrowHair.com.
RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will wrapping up the show this morning on 104.5 The Zone. We've got Inky Johnson on deck.
Yay.
A little bit of midweek motivation. I stumped the crew with a little bit of trivia in the break. I don't know why I didn't just say this over the air. One of my buddies went to a trivia night last night and asked me, who are the last 10 college football programs to produce a Heisman running back? Harder than you think, because I literally put Army in my guess. It's like there's some dude from the 1940s that might count in terms of all the programs that double up. Army was not one of them.
Army, yeah, no.
Alabama was the last one, though.
Yeah,
right?
most recent.
Yeah.
Last recent.
You know who that is?
D. Henry.
Should have been McCaffrey that season, but that's a separate that's a conversation we can have now that Derrick Henry isn't here. Christian McCaffrey should have won the Heisman in 2015.
Look at how you fandom changed.
No,
right
but
there.
like I'm serious. I've said it every day since then. Christian McCaffrey should have won the Heisman in 2015, but again. Y'all want to hear Sam Pittman try to pronounce Iamaleava?
I can't wait to
He
hear
is
this.
a gem of a person. Let's go.
There will be no Sam Pittman slander
No.
on this show or any other. The guy's a king. He's just your grandpa out in Arkansas with a lake house and loves the hogs. This is Sam Pittman trying to say Nico's name.
I think it's Iamaleava. Yeah. I think it's Iamaleava.
Listen, we all mispronounce things. We all say things into microphones that are wrong that we regret in the moment, but that one was funny.
Because it was like he almost like finished it, but then he added another little thing at the end.
Alava. That was, I mean, I had to practice it. Like the enunciation and pronouncing of his name.
I don't blame anyone for getting it wrong for right now. It's still challenging enough where people slip up. Like we're all human, but that one was fun.
I'll tell you though, it's fun to say. If you got it down, though.
Yeah, if you got it down,
yeah,
you
fun
good
to say. It's like Uyunglele too.
I can't do that one.
Antetokounmpo. Like
Don't want to.
That's fun.
Like when Tua came out, everybody was like, Tua Tagovailoa Lova.
And then is it Tagovailoa, Tuga? Like it's so many different ways. Tuga.
Yeah.
That's good cut.
And then there's Mariota, which no one gets ever.
Yeah, there's no excuse for still saying Mariota. It has never been Mariota.
Or Raymond. Like, no, daggone it, my name is Ramon. That's another one that people mess up.
No, come on, dude. We're listing
all
of these people with like alphabet-looking names, and Ramon's like, me too.
Yeah, me too. I made it about me. Yep. I made it about me. You doggone right, I did. I'm just
not. People just call me Robert all the time, man.
I'm not even mad at it. I'm not even hiding it or lying. I made it about me in that moment.
It's your alter ego, though.
Buck is out today, so someone on the station had to make it all about them.
Of course, right. Because Buck's going to happy hour. He's got bottle service lined up this
coming
week.
in late to work like Buck did this morning. Like, I am Buck's replacement this week, okay?
Yeah.
What else do I need to do? Does he wear eyeliner? Do I need to put
go
that
get
on?
a pedicure this week? You would have done that
pedicure.
anyway.
He gets his hair cut every week, I feel like.
Ramon Rising has a great name to it.
Hey.
Oh, boy.
Forget everything you know about Indiana football because he doesn't know much
That's
about
true.
it. And then get your hopes up. And then get your hopes up about Indiana basketball.
Yeah,
and then you'll be Buck Rising.
God will to the shadows.
Pretty good.
Actually, wasn't bad.
You have given Bert like a whole year's worth of drops for our show intros just today.
I know.
I'm kind of ticked at you because now I'm going to have to stay late working on this segment to pull everything and save it.
How dare you be so entertaining that Bert's got to keep working?
How dare you?
That's crazy.
Hey, that's why I tell y'all, I'm a small J journalist. I'm out here for entertainment, baby.
Y'all want to hear some great news that's going to make your day? Much as Ernest calling in.
I don't know if we can talk.
I don't know what you have left.
No, it's not gonna top it for me, but this will make y'all's day. Today is the last day without football on television until November 27th.
Whoa.
That's a good time,
That's
bro.
wild.
Well, that can also be bad or good.
It's not bad.
For people that bet out here.
No.
You
Here's the thing. We're not going to do what the ESPN crew was doing during the Titans and Dolphins game. Bad football is still better than good versions of most other things in life. I don't want to hear complaints about this is terrible. Well, go watch The Simpsons. Go watch Downton Abbey. Nobody's making you sit there and watch the bad football. Bad football is still what this country was built on, by God. No one's making you watch it.
I want to make sure that his behind does not complain about a bad Thursday night game moving forward. Then.
No, you'll never hear me do that.
They have gotten better, by the way, those Thursday night games.
I sat and watched Auburn, Mississippi State play a 3-2 game. Loved every second of it.
It was actually all right.
Because sometimes bad football is maybe just good defense. It wasn't the case on Monday for the Dolphins. I think the Titans were playing great defense. Titans were just running the football. Anyway, I'll put away my soapbox.
Nope, save it, Bert.
No, I loved it. I would watch the armless football league. It wouldn't matter to me if they had arms or not. And I'm not worried about offending nobody because they can't like the stream or a podcast. So who needs them?
We need
Don't we have Inky for some motivation?
Just kidding, armless people of Nashville. We need
I don't
you.
want to hear any of you guys again. Please go to Inky.
Midweek motivation. Here is midweek motivation to wrap up the show.
You selfish.
I read something every single day I'm home, man. I read this piece by Robert Ward. And it says, he said, I wish you the courage to be warm when the world would prefer you be cool. I wish you success sufficient to your needs. I wish you failure to temper that success. I wish you joy in all your days. I wish you sadness so that you may better measure joy. I wish you gladness to overbalance the grief. I wish you humor and a twinkle in your eye. I wish you glory and strength to bear the burdens. I wish you sunshine on your path and storms to season your journey. I want to go back to a line though. It says, I wish you success sufficient to your needs. I wish you failure to temper that success. I wish you success sufficient to your needs. I wish you failure